please welcome my guest for today, Henemimi.
Hello. I unmute my mic, but
Whoop.
I hit the wrong button.
Off to a strong start indeed.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Mimi. Welcome on in. Obviously, a bunch of folks in chat are already familiar with you, but for anyone who might not be, if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Henemimi. I'm a freelance artist. I like drawing. I drew my model. I love drawing and memeing. It's my favorite thing to do. But I also really like streaming like action and horror games. I really like Resident Evil. I like playing new games I haven't played before on stream. Also like Boogeyman and Toho. It's pretty much a TLDR for the kind of stuff I do. I like gaming. I like drawing.
It is a pretty good TLDR for sure. And like you said, you enjoy playing games you haven't played before on stream, and you do something that, funny enough, I'm kind of surprised more people don't do. And that's on your Twitch page, you actually have a list of all of the games that you've played on stream. And
I love it.
It's the type of thing that when I saw, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Why don't more people do that? Where did that idea come from? Was that something that you just sort of thought of one day? Did somebody suggest it?
I just like making little lists and seeing what I've done. So I kind of just started it casually. I only had a few games. I'm like, oh, it might be cute to just list out what I played. But then it's just been getting longer and longer
And it
over
just
2
keeps
years.
going.
And at this point, I have to keep the bid up. You know,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like,
a regular person would probably stop and make like a whole page for it on a website or something. No, I'm just gonna.
At this point, it's a badge of honor, and plus, it's not like you're beating an entire new game every single day, so it's not like you're having to go too crazy. I mean, I'm the one who has, I think I forgot to update my past guest list, but for anyone watching live on Twitch, if you scroll down, you will see a very long list that is now over 100 names. So don't worry, I fully identify and support with those type of long-running lists, and that, you know, I have committed to that bit as well. So we are kindred spirits in that regard.
It was cool to see when you first approached me and I like came to the Twitch to look and I saw that you had every single guest you've had on. It made me more comfortable. I was like, oh yeah, this seems fun. I know a lot of people who have been on here, and it's true.
It actually ends up being, I think, also in my benefit for that reason, because one of the things that I do when I reach out to folks, I say, hey, you know, I'm Jay. This is what the show is. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer. But if it would make you more comfortable, you know, here's my resume effectively of, you know, if you want to reach out to others, you know, and that way I'm not having to put a stupid long list like that in a DM when I'm reaching out to somebody and be like, you know, hey, here's a easy to access little list. And if you want to reach out to someone, you can. So it has ended up being beneficial for me in that regard as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I messaged Tina Bobina and I said, you've been on this. What's it like? And she said, it's kick-ass. It's a talk show. And I was like, okay, cool. That's enough for me.
Well, thank you, Tina. It always means a lot when folks are, you know, saying nice things about me behind my back. And I'm never going to pretend to be the biggest or the best talk show. But as long as people can say, oh, yeah, Jay, he's not an asshole. You can go on a show and have an all right time. Then that means I've done something right.
You've been incredibly nice and professional. You've been doing fantastic, Wolfie.
Well, I try my best. But anyways, not about me today. It's about you.
It is.
For the list that's on your page, is that in chronological order, or is that just ordered by series or something?
It used to be, but then I realized it was getting more and more confusing to parse, so I put it in alphabetical order. So I actually thought about putting the dates on for when I beat what games, but I ended up not doing that. And at this point, I don't think I remember for a lot of them.
Do you remember which one was the first?
Yeah, so before I actually started like VTubing, I made a Twitch in 2019 and I just streamed with like a mic to a handful of people or whatever, but I played Dark Souls. That was the first game I actually streamed before I was doing VTubing stuff. And it's really what got me into being more of a gamer in general. I've always played games and stuff, but when I played Dark Souls, everything kind of clicked that you can approach any video game you want by learning its system and doing it on its terms. So, I mean, streaming in Dark Souls is kind of what got me to start trying more games and doing more things. So I think it was serendipitous that I Dark Souls streamed the first time.
Was there something that made you choose Dark Souls as the first game? Was that just something of, okay, I'm going to be trying something new and actively going into this sort of genre that is something that you haven't tried before? Or what was the sort of impetus for that one?
I don't exactly remember. I think it was suggested to me to give it a shot, and someone was like, "Oh, it'd be really fun to watch you stream it," and I hadn't streamed before, and I was like, I don't know if that's my kind of
Whenever
thing."
someone recommends a Souls like out of the blue, I kind of wonder the
Yeah.
motivations of the person. Is it that, okay, they actually think this person is going to enjoy this and this
Mm.
will be to their taste, or do they just want to see the person suffer?
I was told that once I learned the system, I would like it a whole lot. But it has this reputation of being way more intimidating than I think it actually is. It doesn't tell you, it doesn't handhold anything. So you do need somebody kind of telling you at the beginning how the game works, I think. And that's okay. There's a lot of community resources for Souls games, and I think that's a fun thing about them. But if you just kind of you could just watch like the most simple video for the first area and it would teach you all of the basics if you weren't sure. I had someone kind of like giving me little tips when I was starting out, but once I learned it, it just clicks. It feels good. It goes brain good juice the second you kind of learn how to play those games, I think. At least I'm
Mm.
that way.
Yeah, that's a genre that I myself haven't really delved into, but it's one, it's a very popular genre, and that I do enjoy watching those types of streams, even if they aren't necessarily
Yeah.
games that I play on my own time. But I do need to still actually make the foray. I've been very much delaying the stream reward from my charity marathon to play Elden Ring, and I've also heard that Elden Ring isn't even that bad of a Souls-like game.
Mm-mm.
I just need to actually get off my ass and get to it.
It's a lot friendlier to new people. I really like a challenge in a video game. I like sicko mode kind of things. So, but to be honest, Souls games are really easy for me.
Well, it seems
They're
like the
not,
type of thing that once you know that system, that it's a very transferable set of
yeah,
game skills that
it
whether it's,
is.
Bloodborne or a proper Dark Souls game or Elden Ring, that since it has grown into this genre of its own, that there is a certain set of conventions that are going to cross over, the dodge roll and
Yeah.
encumbrance and things of that nature.
One thing I really like about Dark Souls is the pattern recognition. It teaches you a lot of really like it has very good telegraphed attacks for the
Mhm.
most part. The bosses that are hard usually have poorly telegraphed attacks. But once it's all about pattern recognition and patience, and that's why I enjoy them so much, I think. And those are patience A is a skill that can be transferred to
Yeah.
any game. And then just pattern recognition is such a common thing in most games, and I really enjoy like action and horror the most. Well, I'm new to horror games still, but I like horror a lot, and I've been enjoying it. But in terms of action games and stuff like Souls games, it's all about just learning patterns, and patterns make brain good, like playing video game. I talk like caveman again because I
Oh, you're
don't
good.
know.
And honestly, the pattern recognition in games, that goes back to the
Mm,
earliest of games, whether it's, a Mega Man game or just different ones that you're going to have on the NES, the SNES, Sega, early
like
titles that
long.
pattern recognition. Yeah, even that of just being able to recognize those types of patterns. Okay, something's moving like this, so that means I should go
Mm,
here.
yeah,
So it's something that obviously a lot of people that it make brain feel good of just a go brr,
exactly.
being able to actually get that and the iterative process of like, okay, I
Hmm.
think I'm
Hmm.
recognizing this pattern, and then finally being able to actually get over that hurdle, that it's a very rewarding feeling.
It is. That's the best part of video games is you're like bashing your head at something for a minute and then you get in it's like, "Oh yeah,
Like,
baby. Oh yeah."
oh, how did I not see that before?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've tried a lot of new games with streaming though. That's something I really, really like about streaming is that I've tried a lot of games that I probably wouldn't have given a chance before based on other people's recommendations, and then I've just tried entirely new genres that I've ended up all liking. I basically only played bangers on my stream because I keep getting recommended good games.
Yeah, the generally speaking that even if the Dark Souls one, that like I said, sometimes you can be a bit skeptical of, okay, does
Mm.
somebody actually think they'll enjoy it or do they want to see them suffer? But at the very least, it's still a good game. And
Yeah, it is.
also, generally, folks want to see good gameplay and that they want to see the streamer having a good
Mhm.
time. And especially if it's, a community member that's been around for a while, that you end up being able to really get this type of curated suggestion list. If it's not just you
Yeah,
blindly going like, all right, what do I want to play? What's going to be something good, that folks are going to be able to know you and your taste after watching your streams for a bit of, okay, Mimi
yeah.
liked this game, so she's probably going to like this one. And this is a game that I'd probably want to watch anyway. And that means that the viewers are going to stick around
Mhm.
and have a good time.
Yeah, exactly, and that's part of why I keep the list too, so if people want me to play a game or they wondered if I played something, it's really easy for them to just quickly go look,
Yeah. And that way
and
you don't have to remember, like, oh, did I play that one?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really fun to go through series too. That's something I've been enjoying is going through long franchises too. It took me like 8 months to go through all of Resident Evil, but it's one of the best things I did.
I was about to bring up Resident Evil because you mentioned horror and action. I sort of consider
Yeah.
those a blend of both.
Oh, definitely, the later ones especially.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite in that series? I know that the favorite character is Leon, that anyone who knows you, Mimi,
They
knows
sure
that you
do.
love Leon Kennedy.
I
But
sure do. A regular normal amount. Any fan of Leon, this is a normal amount. It's normal. My it's hard to actually say which one is the one favorite. If I was forced at gunpoint, I guess I would say Resident Evil 4. But if I am allowed to say 3 games, it's Resident Evil 1 remake, Resident Evil 4 original, and then Resident Evil 8. Those have been my favorite. So it's kind of interesting. They're all different points in the series, but I
do
really like
those
all of them.
three have something in common that appeals to you, or is there something different that makes it difficult to say this is my one favorite and that you choose all three?
Well, okay, the funny thing about Resident Evil as a franchise is that the games get wildly different as time goes on. And some of the iterations in Resident Evil are very strange games. But the reason I really like Resident Evil 1 remake is because the puzzles are so satisfying. The puzzles are so fun to do. And there's a lot of stakes too because you can only save so many times because it's an older game. You have like these ink ribbons, so a lot of the fear is just from not being able to save and losing all your progress. And stuff kills you really fast, but you have to it teaches you the franchise, I kind of think, and it's probably the hardest game out of all of them in my opinion. But I loved it so much. It's what got me to check everything else out.
Yeah, there's
And
very few games I can think of that have a save limit.
it's so cool. It's such a cool mechanic. They take it out in the later games, but if you play on hard mode, you can use it. But it's basically you save at typewriters, and they have little ink ribbon reels, and you only find so many in the early Resident Evil games.
I
So you can just
appreciate
be
that they made it flavorful of just
They
because
did.
that's how typewriters work, and it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Back in the day, was this them creating a justification for a limit in the game that was it only able to store so many saves? Was there an actual like
Hmm.
requirement in the hardware that they had to then sort of justify and they found the typewriters as their in-universe justification, or was it truly
Yeah.
intended as a gameplay mechanic from the get-go?
It was 100% intended as a gameplay mechanic, but that's one thing I really like about older games now that I've been playing more is there's so many really interesting system limitations that drive a kind of creativity in games that you don't see nowadays because the systems are just there's so much more going on, you know.
Yeah.
But even like I just started playing Silent Hill recently, the fact that they use the rendering distance to create atmosphere. I don't know how much you know about it. I only just started playing it, but
Not a
there's
ton, admittedly, but I always love learning about different mechanics
yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'm a big fan of the phrase "restrictions breed creativity."
They do, and it's so cool. That's one of the fun things about streaming and checking out old games is you find out all this stuff. You have people in chat who tell you all of these really interesting things, and I love it. That's one of my favorite parts of streaming. But in Silent Hill 1, I haven't finished it yet. I'm still playing it on stream, but there's only so much rendering distance, especially on the PS1. So they use fog to create atmosphere, but that's also as far as the game can see. So it makes it look a lot bigger and a lot scarier by just playing with the limitations. And I think that's so cool. It's really cool.
Mm, yeah, I'm again trying to think of if I've seen this type of thing in other games, and part of it might just be that those aren't usually the genre that I end up playing myself. But I love game design and learning about the history of games and just the different things. So this is the type of thing that really just tickles my own brain. Of like,
Yeah.
that's so cool that the designers thought to go there.
Yeah. And same with when I was playing through the Metal Gear Solid series, which is also a big stream series for me that I ended up doing. Uh, that is Kojima is really cool at doing that kind of thing where he pushes whatever the system is to its limits. And I do you have you played Metal Gear Solid? Do you know anything about the games?
Not as much, but obviously
Oh,
Kojima is prolific for his game design, and
he
that
is.
I know the basics. Again, that this is a series that I've seen a lot played on stream, just not played myself.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. That's one of my favorite things that he does though is every system he gets put on, he pushes it to its limits like graphically and what he can do with it and it's really cool. I'm trying to think of a good example off the top of my head, but I'm mostly thinking of Metal Gear Solid 1 and the way they do like the portrait sprites. in the models. It looks crazy good for a PS1 game. Like, it looks
Oh,
crazy good
yeah.
still,
Yeah, that
and
they were
it's
able to get
nuts.
just the graphical fidelity of just being able to make them look like people and not look like weird little oblong pixel shapes. It's still
Yeah.
pixelated to a point, but that you are right that I hadn't even really thought of it. I was just, you know, it
Mhm.
looks closer to PS2 than PS1.
It
Looks a
does.
lot closer to PS2.
It was near the end of the PS1's, like, prime time kinda thing, but even then, when he made Metal Gear Solid 2 and then MGS3, he was also pushing the PS2 to its limits.
And
They do
even now
they
with Death
don't have much
Stranding,
control.
just that his stuff is always going to look good. That he very much seems like that type of uncompromising auteur, that he has his
Yeah.
vision and he's going to make it happen by any means necessary. And even if it means that he's going to have to delay his game a little while, he will make sure that when it gets out there, that it is what he
Mhm.
wants.
And fight with executives, because Metal Gear Solid 5 was him fighting with executives basically the whole time. That game's a mess, but I'll go into a whole rant if I try to talk about that.
I mean, hey, it's a talk show. Feel free to talk.
I don't wanna be that much of a hater, though. I'm gonna go hater mode if I think about it too much.
Very fair. Well, in that case, let's go to one that I know you do like, and that's
Yeah,
Pokemon. And that
I do.
you and I both share a love of Pokemon. That while I can't talk
Mhm.
too much to Souls-like and Metal Gear Solid, that we've both played Pokemon since Gen 1, and
Hell yeah.
it's it's been a journey to say the least to see that series go from what people said was going to be a fad to being the single highest grossing multimedia franchise in
Mhm,
history.
mhm. I love Pokemon so much. It's always been my main thing that I've really liked. But it is crazy just growing up with it and seeing where it's went and where it is now. I wish they would make finished games, but I still love them dearly.
Yeah, that there's obviously been the issues that they've had with Scarlet Violet, and to their credit, that they are still
Mm.
good games. And one thing I sort of realized
True.
was Pokemon was uniquely positioned to get away with the Scarlet Violet's imperfections, not just because they have 25 plus years of goodwill built up, but
Mhm.
specifically because of the game's mechanics, because it's a turn-based game, because
Mhm,
that
mhm.
all of the chugging is going to happen in the overworld, and that if that were a Souls-like game, if you have dropped frames, the game is unplayable by nature.
Oh, no, you
That
couldn't play it at
it
all.
just doesn't work. But the fact that Pokemon is turn-based strategy, and that, all right, if while you're traversing the overworld that you have a little bit of lag,
Mhm.
that it's not actually going to destroy the gameplay in terms of can you play the game. That is an ideal experience? Certainly not. But
Yeah.
eh, simply because of the game's mechanics and its genre, that is
Mm.
something that they're able to do, and that that's why we ended up having this sort of duality of people grumbling. It's like, this is not what I want in terms of the polish of my game, but damn, it's still
Mm.
a good Pokemon game.
It has some of the best writing, which is crazy to me because it was such an unfinished game, but I think the ending of Scarlet and Violet is maybe one of my favorite endings to all Pokemon games. I think it's crazy good. Besides when they jump scare you with the Ed Sheeran song at the end, it was great. Besides that, I got
That
so scared
that's
when
been
he
the other
started
thing of just
singing.
them working with, mainstream artists that they've had. I think they had a Katy Perry song at some point in the
Did
past couple
they?
years, and just, you know, that's not really the music I listen to. I hear this stuff and it's like, okay, that's fine. That I don't have a problem with it there. It's certainly eh, not what I would expect. It feels a little weird just of, okay, this is not what I'm used to. But at the same time, I recognize, obviously, these are very popular artists, and that for
Yeah,
a statistically significant number of people, there are
they'll
going to be a
love
lot of
it.
those out there that when they hear that, they get super jazzed. And the idea of hearing one of their favorite artists in a Pokemon game is huge. And while it's neither a positive nor a negative for me, that I'm very
Mm.
neutral on it, that it does make me excited because I know all those other folks are really happy about it.
That's a much more positive take than mine, which is that man freaks me out. So when I hear him sing, I got jump scared and I turned the volume down on my Switch.
I mean, I'm not going to begrudge you for getting jump scared because, like I said,
He
it's
scared
still a
me.
bit disorienting. Uh,
It's weird
but
having like a vocalized song in Pokemon. I think that's what weirded me out about it the
because
most.
they still won't give us in-game vocals. In my
It spooked me. I I was not expecting it, but still the ending of that game, the final battle in Scarlet Violet, I really don't know how they did that with a game that was just not fully optimized for its system, but it still had legitimately some of the best writing, I think. It's just
Yeah,
it's hard to tell the people to play it when it runs like that for
yeah, they
60
sort of
bucks.
min-maxed in the different departments, it seems.
Yeah.
But hopefully, obviously there's going to be more Pokemon games. Pokemon's here
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
stay, and the sales on Scarlet Violet were through the roof. If memory serves, it was the highest
Yes.
selling console exclusive release ever for any console, not just for Switch.
Yeah, it sold like crazy well, which it sucks that they'll keep making games that are probably unfinished because it'll always sell, but also I hope it'll be a little bit better because they've been developing on the Switch for a while now. So
Yeah.
and they didn't announce anything this year. I was happy about that. They're just doing the DLC.
That's
I don't
right.
have
I
to
hadn't
worry
even
about
really thought about that we haven't gotten an announcement for a new one that uh if memory serves, I think they did the
Mm.
same when it came to Sword and Shield. I'd have to look back to be certain. But yeah, that hopefully that'll give them a bit more time to start investing on what's going to eventually be, as weird as it is to say, Gen 10.
I know it's weird. It's gonna be in double digits. It freaks me out when I think about it a little too
Yeah.
much.
Also, I missed a couple follows. Mouse Roach, Beach Showon, and Twilight Core. Thank you for the follows. Welcome on in.
Hell yeah. Wait, am I? I've been cussing anyway, haven't I?
Oh
I
yeah,
probably should have asked first.
oh no. I had someone on this show whose literal brand was Chaotic Swear Bunny. You are not the most profane person that has been on
Okay.
VTuber Talk. Do not worry about it. As long as
Okay.
it doesn't get me banned,
I gotta
the
pot him
rating
out.
of VTuber Talk slides entirely based on the guest. I have the mature,
Understandable.
click-through filter on by default. You're totally good.
Okay, good. Because I start saying hell yeah.
Karen knows who I'm talking about. Yeah, it's Bree.
I mean, hi, Fake Throne. Hi, everybody. I don't think I actually said hi to chat. Is it okay if I just say hi to all of
Please, by
them?
all means.
Hi, chat. That's all I was gonna say. Hi.
Hi, chat. Yes, I obviously want to keep the focus on my guests, so
Yeah.
I don't talk with chat too much. But I am always
No,
looking.
understandable.
I'm seeing the trouble you all are causing.
I just wanted to say hi to them. Okay, I'm sorry. I got distracted
No,
from
you're good.
Pokemon. But
And
my
you also,
sicko Pokemon thing, it's shiny hunting.
oh, about which
Yeah.
generation did that start for you?
I started doing it a lot when I was playing Gen 6. So that's when I started getting really into it because I was just kind of like bored in my last year of college and I started shiny hunting in X and Y a lot. And I got way too into it and I just do it in every gen now. I go to old games to shiny hunt too. I
I'm
have
trying to remember. I think
several
X and
hundred.
Y was around where they introduced the catch sprees and that you would end
Hmm.
up getting a multiplier for the shiny. So it's
Yeah.
not quite as crazy as going, back to Gen 2 and 3 and just hoping that you get that 1 in 8,000 odd, but
It's
being
fun
able to
though.
go through it, yeah.
It's still fun to go back to do full odds hunting too. They did make it easier to get shinies. Like after Gen 6 is kind of when they started giving you more options to up your odds.
Yeah.
I, it might have been Gen 5 that they also did something. I don't remember when the shiny charm was
Yeah, it
introduced.
was
It might have been in
around
Gen
there.
5.
I always remember that it was 5 or 6, that it definitely wasn't 4
Yeah.
or below. I have only ever seen, if you're not counting Legends Arceus, I have only ever seen one natural shiny, and that was a blue Shuckle in my original Pokemon Silver. And other than that,
Aw.
despite playing every generation, I have never seen a natural shiny since. That obviously, I'm not counting Red Gyarados. I'm not
Mm,
counting anything that's going to be in there. And Legend Arceus had higher shiny odds just by virtue of
they did.
you
The
see
the
so
map,
many
yeah.
more. So I'm I fortunately have not actually been someone who really cares that much one way or another. So, I haven't done shiny hunting, so
Mm.
it's not an actual frustration. If anything, it's kind of a badge of honor at this point and just a running gag. I can't decide if I'm hoping that I continue to not hit shinies just so I can say that I have missed them for this long.
It's happened to a lot of people. I found like quite a few full odd shinies. My first one was when I was a kid though. I was playing Sapphire. I don't think I fully understood that I got
Oh
a shiny
no.
Wurmple. Like I caught it and stuff, but the
Oh,
thing is I
okay.
only had so many games when I was a kid. And I didn't understand why it was a different color, even though I had played Gen 2 and I knew about shiny Pokemon. I was just like, what is wrong with this bug?
Oh,
But
At least
The-
it's not what I've heard some people say of, oh, I encountered shiny in Gen 2, Gen 3, didn't know what it was, thought my game was glitching and turned it off because I was worried
yeah.
that I'd hit a bug.
See, my thing was I would replay the games I owned like over and over again, so I wouldn't keep the same file on my Pokemon game. I would just replay, the Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 1 games a ton. So I just reset over that file a while later, and I didn't realize that I had a
Oh
shiny.
no!
That's the one I got when I was youngest, though. So that was Gen 3. I mean, I wasn't that young, but I was young enough. But I, the last full odds shinies I remember getting is I got a full odds Sableye when I was playing ORAS, which was
Ooh.
very exciting. And I remember yelling very loud. And it's really nice. It's like a gold color. I really like that fella. I named him
Mm.
Emmett. I remember all of my shiny Pokemon names too. I really go sicko mode about it. And I think I also got a full or half odd. No, I was Masada methoding that. I got an Aeron that was shiny when I was playing X and Y because I sent it over to breed one because I wanted it in my party. And then
Nice.
I got it in like 6 eggs on accident. I pogged out of my mind. It was crazy. It was really good luck. And I recently this year I finally got a shiny starter in Heart Gold Soul Silver. It only took like 5 years of me randomly picking it up and trying to do it.
Now, did you track how many resets you had to do for this particular attempt, or?
I used to, and then I stopped at some point because it was so many. It was
Yeah, because it's
definitely
like, I
over
want
the
to play the game. I
thousands.
want to play this game.
Yeah, I go like sicko mode when I shiny hunt, or I used to at least. I had like 2
Kinda have
copies
to.
of the game, and I had rubber bands around the 3DSs. I was using 2 at the same time,
Oh my
so I didn't have to hit
gosh.
as many buttons, and I could just slam like one of them because I had the shoulder buttons down with the rubber band.
Efficiency.
I was crazy, but I didn't even get it until this year. I was watching Moriko actually play like I think she's playing a black and white like crowd control Nuzlocke or something, and I just decided to pop open my 3DS and start trying to shiny hunt, and then I got a shiny Totodile as a starter. And I was so excited because I've been trying to do that for years.
Yeah, Totodile was my starter back in Gold Silver.
Oh yeah, and I've been doing Nuzlocke Sunstream randomly. We did an Emerald randomizer Nuzlocke, and I got a full odd shiny Cloyster. It was
Ooh.
crazy.
Now, so I'm assuming that you were playing with the shiny rule, that if you encounter one, that it doesn't have to be the first that you encounter on the route, that you're able to catch a shiny, that you didn't have to let it go.
No, I would have cried. I said I don't care. I got something on this route already, I think, and I caught it anyway.
Yeah, no, then I know that most folks always have a shiny clause just to avoid really, really bad fields,
Yeah.
because that would suck.
I would be very depressed. I like that blue boy. I let my chat nickname my Pokemon during Nuzlocke, so unfortunately, his name was Blissey.
Blissey.
But
I was guessing that from what I saw with Iacos.
they wanted to name it Clissy, and I said no because I think I have the word Clissy banned in my chat.
Probably for the best there as well.
I'm sorry to Hino Bobina.
Now, I said I don't ask too many hard-hitting questions here on VTuber
go
Talk,
for
but
it.
I'm gonna ask one right now. Do you
Do
have
it.
a favorite Pokemon?
Oh yeah, Espeon. That's easy.
Oh, no hesitation at all.
No, I love the funny purple cat very much. I have a lot of Pokemon I really, really, really like. Like, I also really like Altaria and Meganium and Aggron and stuff, but Espeon, easy.
All
Easy
right,
number
so
1.
hearing a lot of Gen 2, Gen 3 right there of
Yeah.
that being the soft spot, and that makes a lot of sense. I think for me, my favorite starter, it began as a meme, obviously, but I do genuinely like Mudkip.
Mudkip's cute, though.
Mudkip's
Anyone who doesn't actually
adorable.
like Mudkip is silly.
Plus,
Doesn't matter, it's meme.
Plus, I was so excited when I got to, I think it was Volkner.
Yeah.
And I just evolved Mudkip into Marshtomp, and I was like, okay, I'm sending Marshtomp in, expecting that it's probably just going to get KO'd, and I have other Pokemon in the back. Whatever Pokemon uses Thundershock, it doesn't affect Marshtomp. Wait, what?
I know,
Like,
it's like a fog moment.
I hadn't checked that to see had
The
it gotten a
typing
new
change,
typing,
yeah.
because usually that doesn't happen until the 3rd stage. And I was like, this is the most powerful thing ever. It's a water Pokemon that doesn't have to worry about electric. It's amazing. And then I swept the gym. So that's my favorite starter.
yeah.
And then favorite overall, it always feels a bit like cheating because it's pseudo-legendary, but I think Metagross is really freaking cool.
No, it's fine. Metagross is good. When it's an actual legendary, that's when I'm like, oh, that's a little boring. But I think that the Suedo, they're fine. They're cute. Metagross is cool. I like it. It's a good choice.
It's a freaking psychic supercomputer tank.
It's cute too. I have a weird
Yeah.
definition of cute, though. I think Metagross is cute. I think Aggron is cute. I think most Pokemon are cute, besides like the Conkeldurr line, which I hate. With my
Oh
entire
yeah,
heart.
they're just a little too veiny.
They freak me out. Yeah, they have too many veins. That's my only Pokemon hater opinion, really.
No, that's an understandable one for sure.
They're scary.
Do you have a favorite villain team?
Do I? That's a good question. Okay. What is the team name in Gen 7? Now I'm trying to remember. It's escaping me.
Is that Flare?
No, that's
No,
Gen 6.
That's 6.
It's the one guy. It's the guy with the face. Aether. Yeah. Wait, was it Aether? What's the one that Guzma's in? I like them.
Skull.
They're silly guys. Skull, thank you. But also, I was thinking of Lusamine, but it's not the same. Team Skull is fun.
Yeah.
They're fun, silly guys. I also just really like Team Rocket, though. That's a
Team
boomer
Rocket's
opinion.
classic.
So I was trying to think of something that's not a boomer opinion. But Team Skull is really fun. I liked Guzma. He was a weird little fellow.
Yeah. Xavier, the Top G69, thank you for the follow. You also do enjoy Pokemon cards, and that since you're an artist yourself, it's always fun to watch you do those openings because, most folks, I enjoy card opening streams regardless, but I enjoy yours that little bit more because you actually have this commentary of like, oh, I like how they did the perspective here, and Pokemon cards, compared to most games, have the most diverse art style that, Magic the Gathering has a very cohesive and consistent artistic identity, whereas Pokemon cards that you can see, there are ones that are made of clay, there are some that are obviously CG, there are ones that are done in watercolor, and even within the same set, that they basically give their artists free reign.
They're great, and I love that Pokemon actually credits the artist on the bottom of the cards. A lot of card games don't seem to do that.
Oh, they don't, because I know Magic does. But come to think, I'm not sure if Yu-Gi-Oh does. I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't think so, but I love that because then I found favorite artists, which I don't know them off the top of my head. It's more I see the art and I'm like, oh, I love this one. But it's really fun, I think, to take the time and look at all the art on all the cards. Because I know a lot of people, they'll just go through like the commons really quickly, but I really like, the first time I see them, I really want to sit and kind of take in the art because there's so much love put into every Pokemon card art, in my opinion. A lot of these people are probably working on commission. They're doing it for work, but there's so much love for Pokemon as a franchise. I think it really comes out in a lot of the card art, and it's really beautiful. The composition on the small... I'm starting to talk faster because I got excited about Pokemon.
I'm able to keep up. You're fine.
No, they make fun of me because when I get excited, my voice just pitches up. So I caught myself and I got embarrassed.
Cronus of a Soul calls out Yukamori, the clay Pokemon artist. Yes, I didn't know that was their name, but that's something that when I see folks doing card openings, that I love that they have clay. Whenever it's that, or like sort of like this cross-stitched ones.
Yeah, the stitched ones. I love those. They're so cute.
The ones that are done out of physical media, and I'm not sure if it's actual.
Cool. It's cool.
Do you know if it's actually clay and cross-stitch, or if it's CG rendered clay and cross-stitch? That either way, I think it's fantastic. But
that's a good question. I'm not actually
sure. It makes me
sure.
wonder.
I wonder with some of the older stuff if it was, but I think nowadays they could probably do quite a bit in Blender or something.
Yeah.
But I've never actually thought about that. I wonder.
Then it makes me think, like, are those original, clay models still wandering about? That most of the time, I'm more familiar with Magic the Gathering's art process nowadays than Pokemon's art process. That's just where I go in terms of TCGs nowadays. But even now, a good chunk of Magic's art is done traditional, and that there are places where you can actually buy the originals, that they do often go to auction.
That's really cool. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, that obviously there's a lot that are done in CG, but even in those cases, sometimes the original sketches or the color studies will end up being auctioned off, even if the final was done digitally.
That's mega cool. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
That's a Magic W.
Makes me wonder if there is that type of community or marketplace out there for Pokemon, because it's not something that even most
Mm.
Magic fans are aware of. It's just something that I wound up stumbling upon one day because I was looking up something because I was curious about one of the artists.
Yeah.
Uh, but it makes me hope that there are some of those physical ones out there, whether it just be on canvas or even having actual little
Yeah, the
models and,
little
cross
guys.
stitch plushies that are running around, and that someone is able to say, this is the one from the card.
If I could own like Pokemon card art originals, I would lose my mind, I think, because that sounds really cool. Aiko said the clay and yarn ones are real objects as far as,
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
that's really cool. I would love to see a process of how they put that together because I think people who work with clay and small things like that, you gotta get the lighting right for all the
Yeah.
photography and stuff too.
And I
I
feel
would
like you
love
can
the behind the
probably
scenes.
that the artist probably could do that with Magic the Gathering,
Mm,
since most of the cards in any given set are going to be new and unique and related to the story potentially, for whatever
yeah,
plane they're on. That you know there's been, I'm sure at this point, probably 100 different Swablu cards, and
yeah.
that they probably wouldn't mind if the artist was like, "Yes, I'm currently working on a Swablu card for Pokemon." That doesn't actually tell the community anything about what's going on in the card game or anything special about Pokemon, because Swablu's been out there for over a decade now and been printed a million
Mm,
times over. So they could probably do that and actually record, or I wonder if they could even do something like stream actively as they are working on it. And like, this is for a
mm.
future Pokemon set. I can't say which set. I can't say when it will be released. I can't say what the card will do. But the fact that another Swablu card is going to print isn't going to shake up the world or,
Yeah.
in all likelihood, break relevant NDAs, assuming that you can get the blessing from the Pokemon company.
Yeah, I was gonna say NDAs are kind of a bitch in of
Yeah, that
themselves.
obviously I would say, I they would have to get permission regardless. But
Yeah.
it makes me think that Pokemon might be open to that, since if that's all the information that's going out there, it's not actually something that would really matter. But goodness knows Pokemon and Nintendo are very, very
Mm,
secretive companies, so
they
I could
are.
also see them saying no to that. But one
Yeah,
can dream.
there are a lot of the Pokemon TCG artists on Twitter and stuff who post their other work, or it's usually once the set drops, they will post the art that they worked on. I've seen it a few times from a few different artists. Like there was a really, really pretty full art Garantina card that came out last year, I believe.
Ooh, yeah,
And I
I
remember it
remember
was really
seeing the art of
striking.
that one.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And the artist put it on Twitter, and I was so taken aback by it because their style is so unique. I like a lot of the cards they've done. It's very there's a lot going on in the art. There's a lot of different shapes and movement. I like it. It's a good card.
Do you recall where your journey as an artist began? Of just was doodling something that you always did, and that eventually you realized, oh, I can potentially make this into a career? Did you see a piece of media and say, I want to do that? What led to you really pursuing art?
Pokemon. Ironically, I always drew a lot when I was younger, but when I was like a preteen, I was watching an episode of Pokemon and I thought, how did they get their eyes to be the same size when they draw? I remember that was one of my first thoughts that made me kind of inquisitive about how people actually make art because I didn't. It's like, how do you get them looking the same? So then I started drawing like a Pokemon OC and I started trying to like learn the Pokemon art style when I was a kid. And it kind of just, for a long time, it was a hobby. And I was discouraged from pursuing art as a career by my family kind of thing. So I went to college for normal, like normie stuff. And then I ended up deciding to pursue art after some time because I've got some health issues that make working normal job stuff hard, but I can draw from home and I can make art and share it with people. So it's just kind of become a thing. I kind of fell into doing art as a professional thing, but I've always liked drawing. I've always really liked drawing a lot. And I really did just start with Pokemon because I wanted to make a Pokemon OC when I was a baby.
Well, this works out really well because, I was genuinely curious and was going to ask that anyways, but I was going to
Mm,
then bring it back to, it makes me wonder how many of the Pokemon card artists nowadays got into art because of Pokemon, with it
yeah.
being as old as it is now, and that you are able to actually see that cycle, that it's a not uncommon thing with Magic artists that people say, I
Mm-hmm.
I grew up seeing this art and wanting to do stuff like that, and now they get to actually do that. And I have no idea how they select their artists, but it'd be really cool if eventually someday there was a Henemimi Pokemon art card.
That'd be but I don't know if I'm ever gonna be on that kind of level with drawing Pokemon or environments, but it is charming to think about, to be honest. It's it's probably out of my league, but it's still really I don't know, that would be cool. I
Well,
don't
that's
think
the
I
type
would
of thing
go
that
for it
since
though.
since their styles are so diverse that, it doesn't necessarily matter if
Mhm.
your style feels like it's not necessarily something they would want because as long as it is good and your art is good, that,
Thank you.
who knows? Like I said, I have no idea, and it does make me curious as to how they do their sourcing, but,
Mhm.
I'm quite confident Pokemon will continue to be out there and that they will continue to
Oh,
print many,
definitely.
many cards, so maybe someday.
They do I know occasionally that Pokemon TCG will hold contests for fans to submit their own art,
Ooh.
and I've seen some of the ones that didn't get picked to be printed, and they're usually really cool. There's a lot of diversity in them. I think it's been quite some time since I saw that happen, so I don't know if it's a recent thing they've been doing at all, but I know some years ago they had a contest for it. And it was really cool to see everyone's different levels of creativity on what they were trying to make.
That's neat. I don't know if Magic's ever done something like that. They've done one for card design a couple times,
Oh.
where it's about knowing the mechanics and being able to design
Mm.
mechanically different cards, and that they've gotten several designers, even ones that didn't actually end up winning that contest. Then sometimes a couple years down the line, end up getting hired by Wizards of
Yeah,
the
bringing
Coast,
them on.
anyways.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't think I've seen them do that for art, but I can see obviously where it'd be very smart because then you can say, one, all right, we
Mm.
we have this good fun contest and the prize is all right, your art gets to be put on a card, but then it gives them that visibility of okay,
Mm,
let's note down a
exactly.
couple folks, even if they didn't win, these might be folks we want to reach out to in the coming
Yeah, yeah.
years.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. A lot of I think a lot of stuff with art and companies finding people is usually social media nowadays or some I
Hmm.
don't want to say nepotism, I don't feel like that's the right word, but definitely networking and
Yeah,
connections. When you know people, it's a little bit easier to get into stuff.
for sure.
So,
And that it's not necessarily malicious or nepotism. It's just, well, there's a
yeah.
lot of artists out there and there's a lot of people out there, and you can't
Mhm.
realistically see and be aware of everyone. But if someone who you have worked with professionally and trust to have good judgment says, hey, you should check this person
Yeah,
out, that it's just efficient,
exactly.
frankly, to say, okay, well, maybe we should check this person out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's the most common way that artists probably get picked up by companies nowadays. It's just social media, networking, that kind of thing, visibility. If you're making content for that specific, franchise or whatever, you're making a lot of fan art. Sometimes you can catch the eye because, like with the Fate franchise, a lot of artists who currently work for Fate Go or any of the side media started out as fan artists that would make like guest doujinshi pages and some of the early Type Moon stuff. Like one of my favorite fan artists from Pixiv ended up making Emiya Gohan, the little like cooking side series that Fate has.
Ooh.
Her name is Ta or Tom, and Ta's art is like some of my favorite of all time. I still have a bunch of the old Pixiv art like saved on my computer. I remember when it got announced, I was like, "Oh, my favorite fan artist got an actual role in the company." I pogged out of my gourd.
Yeah,
I,
that's always fun being able to see folks who have, had that love and just put in
yeah,
that effort over the years for any given franchise or just a general community and see them be able to actually, ascend in that way and actually be able
yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
something that is then official.
Yeah, a lot of the current people who do stuff for Type Moon were originally like fans or people who were just making stuff for it. And it's cool. I really like that kind of culture where the fans power it kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
And
good.
it ends up being smart for the companies as well that they're able to then sort of work off
Yeah.
of the fame of the artist as well because they know the community is going to want it. And then, it becomes a
Mm.
very nice win-win situation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I just really like art. I like seeing artists. I like get into stuff that I like too.
Well, actually, you were kind enough to provide a couple pieces of your art, so let's move
Yeah.
on over
Oh goodness.
to here.
There's images.
Yeah, so you have a couple that you shared with me here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I do
yeah, yeah.
apologize. Some of them got a little bit crunched up
That's
when I had to
okay.
resize that. You work with very big
I do.
file images, and I had to scale them down to make them fit the overlay. So
It's
if you want
true.
to see even better quality, be sure to check out Henemimi's work. That it's going to be, I know,
Mm.
on your Patreon and also on your Twitter. And
Mhm.
there's going to be links for that in the channel panels if you're watching live on Twitch, and it'll be in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Like, comment,
Hi,
subscribe, and all that
YouTube.
jazz.
Like, comment, subscribe right now. Do it right now.
Yeah. So this one is just your character. This is you.
Mhm. It's Mimi. I drew this for my 2-year streaming anniversary during March because I started streaming on my birthday on March 15th. So I wanted to do just something like cute and simple, and I wanted to, just show my community I cared about them. I wanted to make them a pretty drawing. So I did.
And we do have the Chimkins down there.
Yes, I like my little orb guys that I made as a mascot. They fill me with joy. They're squishable, and I want to throw them at a wall.
I usually don't ask folks about their lore and character design, but I am curious because
Mm.
it is not entirely clear to me where Chicken came from.
Oh, so my original outfit design had a little bit more of a chicken motif here. I can even change outfits. Oh God, where did it go? There we go. So it's a little more obvious because I had like the egg motif
That's right.
kind
Yeah,
of thing going on, and
I
the
forgot
wingies.
about this model because it's been a while
Yeah.
since I've seen it.
Cause I was gonna get it re-rigged with like my current rigging too, but some parts needed to be redrawn, and then my Life 2D artist has been busy, so she's been in the vaults lately. She has been in jail, but one day she will come back. But I do think the chicken motif's a little bit more obvious, especially when I have the little wingy hair thing going on. But I really like the bob cut on my current model, so I use it a lot. But I still have these because when I smile or when I frown, they also change. So when I smile, they go up, and when I frown, they go down.
Oh,
It's very cute. So it's less obvious now, but I got an eggy. That's indication. I should probably make my motif obvious.
It's the type of thing that I was looking at. It's like, oh, you have all the bows all around, and that's a slightly different shaped bow. And I feel kind of silly now for not realizing that that's an egg.
It's okay. That is very funny though. But it's a little less obvious than it used to be. But I want to make some more outfits. She just kind of started as like a magical girl chicken tuhu OC. I kind of rolled with it. And I thought the first outfit I made was a little goofy, even though it was kind of charming. So then I just wanted something a little more simple to draw, but I also think maybe it's not that simple for other people. It is for me.
That's always a cool thing when you have artists that work on things and that they intentionally do their designs to be simple for others to replicate.
Yeah, that's the intention when I started this one, but I do not think that was the result because I'm still insane and I added a lot of frills and there are a lot of ribbons.
The thought was there, at least at the start.
It was. Whatever this is,
And then it went off the rails.
I want to design some new outfits and maybe have some more like egg motifs in them, more chicken. The red and white I think is maybe one of the biggest indicators I wanted to use because when I had the original design, I had the ribbon on the neck too because I wanted it to kind of elicit the, you're looking at a chicken, they got the comb on their head, they got the little waddle thingy on their neck. You got a big bow like it's supposed to be a chicken. I feel dirty explaining my design choices.
No, it makes sense.
I just like chickens. I think they're cute.
Yeah, and it's very clear that your community likes the Chimkins as well. That literally the comments that I got on the announcement tweet for the show was Chimkin. That I was considering putting chicken because you have that mentioned on. I think it's your Twitch profile, not your Twitter one though.
I forgot if it's not on Twitter. I ran out of letters probably.
Yeah. But yes, and we made sure to add the Chimkin tag here on Twitch as well.
Very important chicken tag.
Very important.
I just wanted to. I try to use a lot of the fluffiness with kind of like the poofy sleeves, the ribbons and stuff to elicit like a little fluffy chicken sitting down. I have like design things in my brain, even if it's not as obvious at first. But the reason I have this outfit is because I was just basically leaning into the Toho bit. I'm a lot of VTubers really play into their characters and stuff, but I'm just a silly little guy who likes my original character, and I put her on like a little funny costume, and I stream in my little funny chicken girl costume, and I love her. I'm maybe a little
I
weirder than
forget
other
where the
VTubers.
slide is from, but you have basically a design reference sheet,
Mhm.
and you have different notes about the character, and it's like, I love her. Please draw her.
Yeah, it's true. I do love. I'm the number one wife guy for myself, basically, and it rocks. To be honest, it's the best
Yeah.
way to live life.
Have you always enjoyed drawing and characters with those types of frills and poofy outfits, or was it something that you discovered a little later along the way?
Well, I've always like drawn things that look soft or comfy kind of vibes to them. So, I mean, I always really liked magical girls when I was drawing a lot, like high school and college. So it did kind of just come naturally to draw frilly and fluffy stuff. And also, Toho is all frills. I only got into Toho in the last few years, so it just kind of happened that I leaned
Mm,
into the Toho bit. But there's so many fucking frills. I had to get better at drawing frills when I started doing
yeah.
Toho fan art.
I don't know much about Toho, but I do know that, oh boy, there are a lot of frills.
Everyone's got frills. The majority have a hat. A few don't have hats or head accessories or ribbons or whatever in their hair. They look kind of naked. There's a few Tohos that don't have a hat or ribbon or little object, and they look very naked to me. But that's okay. That's why they're special.
Yeah. Now, this next one, the file name was JK Memers, and I'm not quite sure why, but this one is, again, just you.
Yeah.
I do like that you have the cell phone. I'm actually I'm gonna mess up the scaling and make this go out
Yeah.
of
Go ahead.
bounds for a second, but I do see the Espeon, so we do have that there. We do have the chickens.
Yeah. I
I
just threw
think
cute little
that's
motif stuff in.
I think that's Alter from Fate on the right,
That's regular Saber.
or Saber, not Alter.
She
Yeah.
looks like this funny little guy. That's one of the models that gets drawn in Fate Hollow Ataraxia, the VN. I like the visual novels the most. I'm a primary, not a secondary with Fate.
And then I think that's just you on the left, and I'm
Oh,
trying to
that's
see.
Reimu from Toho. I
Oh,
just I killed her and
yes,
I stole
gotcha.
her outfit motif designs. It's how it is. Survival of
Um,
the fittest.
and then we have a strawberry, and I'm not sure what that's from.
Oh, it's just a strawberry. I thought it was cute.
Well,
'Cause
nothing wrong with that.
the
Strawberries are
JK
good.
the JK just stands for Joshi Kose, which just means high school girl in
Mm.
Japanese. And then I just type Mimi as memers a lot in my file names. My file names are all really poorly organized.
Yeah, the ones that you sent me, fortunately, most of them were parsable. This was the only one that wasn't immediately clear, but JK being Joshikose does make a lot of sense. Yes.
Yeah, that's all it was. Because I really like that style from the early 2000s where they always have the loose socks on and the big cardigans and loose ribbons. And obviously, I could only do so much with this pose, but I just wanted to draw this because I wanted to draw loose socks. And I accomplished my mission, and I was very happy with myself. I really like how this one turned out a lot.
Yeah. I also noticed the buttons over here on the bag. Which ones are these?
Oh, yeah, we got a Leon, we got a Dante, we got a Chicken, we got a Haro from Gundam. And I think Alice or somebody else Sawyer suggested I put Miku on the bag, so I added a tiny Miku.
So I'm gonna zoom in on those. Oh, yep, there we go. Yeah, okay.
There they are.
Yeah.
I tried to make it, stuff people know me for with streaming and stuff. I just wanted to make a cute little thing that had some of my interests in it. I thought it would be a good drawing, and I was correct because I was very happy with this and how it turned out.
And that one's actually from this year.
Yeah, I think most of the ones I sent you are from this year. I sent most of my recent stuff, I think. But this was it was either April or late March. I think it was April, though.
Mm. Next one we have is actually somebody who was in the chat earlier and a previous guest
Yeah.
of the show, Grimmy.
I really liked this drawing I did of Grimmy, so I was like, I'll throw that in there because it shows a little more variety in my style. That's not just, drawing my own OC, drawing my own VTuber. I really like how this Grimmy picture turned out.
Yeah,
I think the colors are pretty.
I was going to say that the color palette is a few shades darker than your average one, but that the palette is perfect for Grimmy.
Yeah, that's why I had fun with it because I don't work with a lot of darker colors in my palettes. So when I draw like a VTuber character that does have darker color scheme, I play with it. I try to use different shades of grays or blacks or basically anything to just kind of draw your eye around because I just don't work with solid blacks very often. So it's fun to kind of play around with that kind of thing. Oh, hi.
Hi,
You're still
Grimmy.
here. I'm glad you liked it so much. I really ended up liking the colors in this one a lot. I like the shapes I did in it. I'm very fond of this drawing.
Yeah, just it's very calm that you have her just sort of the neutral expression. You have Gasper floating around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was just I was vibing watching her play Resident Evil 4, and I was like, "Oh, I've always wanted to draw fan art for Grimmy, and it was a good opportunity."
Plus, it comes
It's
back to Resident Evil 4 again.
it sure does. I sure do. If I see someone playing Resident Evil 4, I usually click on the stream if I follow.
Mhm.
I have brain damage about that video game. I like it a normal amount. It's a regular normal amount.
A completely normal and not at all extra amount. Do not worry.
Yeah, exactly. I think that with the Legend of Zelda stuff right now, this is how non-Resident Evil fans probably felt in March when I was going nuts. Because I'm not a Zelda person, but I'm just like, I'm watching all my oompies go crazy about it. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for you. I hope you're having a great time, sweetie, kind of thing.
Yeah, when we spoke earlier in the week that I actually apologized sort of reflexively, was like, by the way, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to be ripping you
Yeah.
out of Hyrule for a little bit. And you were like, oh, no, don't worry. I'm not a big Zelda fan, just not one that you ever got into. And it's not that you
Yeah.
dislike it. It's just, similar to, Resident Evil and Souls games are ones that I just sort of missed the train
Mhm,
on,
mhm.
that's where it is for you. But it's fun watching people enjoy the games that they enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's happy, it's like you don't want to rain on their parade. So even if I'm not into Zelda or anything, it's like, oh, everyone's having a great time. People are pogging out of their gourd. I've only really seen positive things about it from my friends on Twitter and stuff. So I'm really happy everyone's having a good time with it so far.
Yeah, that I may or may not have completely destroyed my sleep schedule for that game over
Playing
the
it.
past 2 days.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I know people taking work off to play it and stuff even. They're
I
going
didn't go quite that far, but
I know people who save PTO for video game weekends a lot of
yeah,
times.
I do know a couple folks did that for this game. A couple did that for Pokemon, I think, of just, hey, that's what PTO is for, that you find the time that you want to take off and use it.
Exactly. When Pokemon came out, I unfortunately had gotten COVID, like
Oh,
from
no.
someone else bringing it around me. But I ended up playing all of Pokemon just COVID ridden in bed, and then it was like 3 days after it came out, or a few days. I had 100 hours, and I remember Lily Hops was like, "Wow, you did that fast!" And I was
Like, well, had nothing else to do.
I had nothing else to do. I was dying
Yeah,
in
at
bed.
least it became a silver lining that,
It
obviously
did.
no one enjoys getting sick, but hey, in some ways, I guess the timing sort of lined up that it let you take
I
your
know
mind
life
off things,
did.
hopefully, and just, use it as a bit of therapy, I suppose, of just being
It
able to
was.
stay relaxed and just as comfortable as you can be when you are otherwise sick.
Yeah, I like blasted through that game even though I took my time with it at the same time. I went crazy. I went sicko mode on it too.
That's sort of where I am right now with Zelda. Just uh, I don't actually play as many games as I used to
Mhm.
nowadays, but when I do get games, for the most part, I end up just falling into them. That one of the few that I haven't actually finished. I haven't finished Scarlet Violet yet.
Oh, the
That
ending's the best part.
and I've heard that, and fortunately, I've been really good about avoiding spoilers.
Oh, really?
That I know the ending is to be looked forward to. I don't know what happens.
Oh, I'm
Um,
glad I didn't
and
talk about it that much
uh,
earlier because I
you're
almost
good.
did.
um, but just I got a release day, and then my schedule got the better of me.
I
And
understand.
since I didn't really have the chance to really fall into it, it's been one that I've just sort of been going through slowly and just every so often playing a little bit. That it's become a bit of a travel game for me
Oh, yeah,
whenever
that's
I'm
healthy
like on a
though.
plane. So I'm probably gonna actually, after beating Tears of the Kingdom, just go
Go
back
back.
and finish that off because I'll probably be in a gaming mood then. Uh, but
Understandable.
like I know when Legends Arceus came out, I put 50
Love that
hours into
game.
that over a weekend that I really, really enjoyed that game. You wanna talk
I
about
did too.
design differences
It's
of
so
just
I had so much fun with that game. It felt like a breath of fresh air. Even if that wasn't even fully finished either, I loved it so much. I loved the art style. I thought the story was a fun little thing to have.
yeah,
But
the core gameplay loop, just the
yeah,
process of run around, throw Pokeball at things, eh, it was very, very satisfying.
and I really like the ecology of Pokemon. I think it's one of the cutest aspects of it as a series is that there's like ecological things going on with how different Pokemon interact in the wild or what they do in their little funny free time, like a Spheal rolling around like a ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. Arceus was so charming. I loved it so much. I definitely missed battling a little bit, but just being able to go around and you're just studying the Pokemon and catching them it's just such a good game. I liked it so much.
Yeah,
I hope
and
we get more like that, to be honest.
oh, yeah, that just give me Legend Celebi and old Johto,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I want that
We
one
already
too.
have the time travel excuse right there. That's Celebi's
That's what I'm
thing.
saying.
It works.
Like, yeah, we had God for Gen 4, but we also got a little time traveling onion we can do for Gen 2. Like, it'll work out.
Yeah, or just, Legends Kanto or Legends Mew in
Yeah.
old Kanto that, Mew can do basically anything. I'm sure that we can justify that Mew can
Yeah,
throw
yeah,
you into the
yeah.
past, no problem.
I really want another game like that. I liked it so much. Future Unova, that'd be cool too.
Ooh, oh, okay. Now you're thinking with portals of it doesn't all have to be in the past, that you can go in the future. All right, I'm down for that.
I don't know, that would be cool. I think a Gen 5 Legends would be really sick.
Mm, yeah, and just the battle system for Arceus, I'm glad that it's not what we have normally and that they didn't then adapt that into
Yeah.
the main line. But I very much respect and think it was great that they let themselves do something wildly different because it doesn't matter in the Legends game. That's the side one. That's
Yeah,
not what
yeah,
people are
yeah.
going to as their mainstay, and that it lets them just experiment. And maybe they found a couple things that, even if not completely upheaving the battle system in the mainline games, that
Mhm, mhm.
whenever you let designers or artists explore uncharted design space, that
Yeah.
there can end up being learnings where even if not one to one, that you can then take back to the other things that you normally do.
I
And
thought
even
it
if
was
not, it was just cool to see them do something different.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool to see him do something different. I thought it was really funny that I can't remember what exactly the name was to refer to him to the giant angry fellows, where you had to
Oh,
basically do
the
a Souls like boss
yeah,
fight with them.
that's the
It was
closest
so
I've ever gotten to
funny.
Souls like of the and I'm blanking on their name as well.
I was
Just
laughing so hard that you have to use iframes in a Pokemon game to dodge roll.
yeah,
I
and
thought it
just
was the funniest thing. Were they called noble Pokemon? It's been a while since I
yeah,
played it, so I
I
couldn't
can't
remember.
recall, but that, it wasn't there were no weapons that you're not gonna use weapons or harm Pokemon, and so you had the balm, the incense, that it's gonna calm them down.
You gotta
But
dodge roll, baby. You gotta
mhm,
iframes.
yeah, but, really enjoyed that one. Again, hope that
Me
we get
too.
some more that, certainly it seemed to sell well and that the reviews were
Yeah, it
good, I
did.
know. So, fingers crossed there because there have been some really, really good side series in Pokemon over the years that seem to do well that they just haven't continued on that,
They just let
you know,
them die, yeah.
we
I
haven't gotten more of the mystery dungeons in a while. I was hit
mm,
or miss on Ranger that it got a little old drawing circles after a time, so I'm okay letting that one go.
mm,
I still can't forgive them that they just haven't made Pokemon Stadium 3. Why?
understandable. Understandable. I see, I never really got a chance to play a lot of the side games when I was younger. So something I'm doing right now, actually, I'm playing Pokemon Coliseum for the first time on my stream on Wednesdays.
Mm.
We haven't had one this Wednesday, and I can't next Wednesday because I have another appointment thing going on, but it's interesting to play because I've never seen a lot of the models, and they're very cute animations. There's a lot of life to them, and it's a goofy, weird little game. I've really been liking it. I never had a GameCube, so the side stuff is interesting to me since I missed a lot of it. I guess Arceus and Coliseum are kind of the only side ones I've played so far. I'm normally only played the mainline games.
Yeah, and I guess Coliseum, the real charm in Coliseum is in the mini games. That otherwise, it's mostly just a battle simulator that you have.
Oh, you're talking
Ico's,
about Stadium.
yeah.
Well,
Oh, did
Coliseum
I
is
say
the
Coliseum?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind a Coliseum 3 as well, but also Stadium of just the party games I really enjoyed, and
Yeah,
being
no,
able to
those
do the
games were
rental
fun. They're
parties.
cute.
Yeah.
I want to do a rental randomizer at some point because that sounds goofy. That sounds silly to do.
Yeah, the closest we ever got to that afterwards was I forget. I think it was the Battle Factory in Emerald. That there was one there that you used rental Pokemon.
Oh, was it? Emerald was also the one game that I didn't own when I was younger because I would usually be able to get the Pokemon games and then like for Christmas or whatever. And when I got older, I started buying both copies of the game once I started working my own job
Mm.
when I was a teenager. But I never had an Emerald, so that was actually part of why I did an Emerald randomizer Nuzlocke on my stream because I never got a chance to play it. And I kept getting tricked because I had such a deep memory of Sapphire and there was like minor differences.
Oh yeah, and especially since Emerald was the last one before the physical special split, that if you're
Mm.
just sort of reflexively going, okay, I know that Thunder Punch is a physical move. It's a special move in the original because all electric moves were special back in the day.
Yeah. It throws you off. It tricks you.
Yeah. Aiko's mentioned, no, sorry, Cronus mentions Battle Frontier. Yeah, that it was the Battle Frontier, and that there was then, I think it was the 7 different facilities, and it was the Battle Factory, if memory serves, that had the rentals. That it actually is really cool, and that's one of the Battle Frontier facilities I did the most because you select 3 of 6, I think, to start, and then it is a 3-on-3 battle, and then you can choose if you want to swap one of your 3 for one of the 3 of the trainer you just beat, and you have to do a certain number in a row.
Oh, I think I might remember something in Fire Red Leaf Green, but I did that have anything like a Battle Frontier? Or am I misremembering?
I
'Cause it was the same
didn't
generation.
play Fire Red Leaf Green, so I'm not entirely sure.
I might just be imagining things. Oh, maybe I'm thinking about Heart Gold Soul Silver instead. I probably am.
Possibly, but yeah, that's a really fun one. I definitely suggest, especially if you're. Are you still going through that Emerald Nuzlocke?
No, it's
or is
been
that done?
finished for a while. I didn't
Gotcha.
really do anything with the post story stuff. I beat the league and we
Yeah,
stopped there.
yeah, that's usually where Nuzlocks end, understandably.
Oh, it had the trainer tower and the Sevi Islands. Oh, okay, that's what I was
Mm,
thinking of then.
yeah. So
Um,
let's see the next piece. Which one? Let's go with this says Neener's birthday, and I know exactly which Neener this one is.
It is. I like this Nina drawing I did. It was kind of a fast drawing, but I thought it was cute. I love Nina.
I'm
It
just
was her
double
birthday.
checking the proper way to spell her channel name, so I can give her a shout out as well.
Oh, here, I can type it for you. I think it's that one. Did I add too many nins? Nina. No, I think that's the right amount.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Oh,
trying to
Nina.
remember if it was Nina Nin, or Nina Satome. I could never remember.
I'm surprised she didn't change it to anything else, but it is. I love that it's Nina Neenan though. It's always a little confusing when she comes by and the mods don't know or something really quickly if they typo her name or something. I made a command for her in my chat. I have an exclamation mark Neeners just because I love her.
That's fantastic, and also less likely for typos.
Exactly. But I just drew this as a quick birthday gift. I was pretty busy, but I still wanted to make her something fast.
Yeah, it's very nice. Of just
Thank you.
very flowy. You have the very poofy dress and the poofier hair.
I just love drawing poofy hair. It's my favorite. It's the best.
And
I love fluffy hair.
and this last one we have, it's just a nun because why not?
It is. It is the nun drawing. That's why I wanted to double check if I could have pinups on your stream.
Yeah, and I was like, as long as it doesn't get me banned, we're fine. But I do know that you have some extra cultured, extra spicy ones available on Patreon. So
I do.
If that is to your taste, folks out there, that do be sure to check out Mimi's Patreon.
Yeah, I love drawing. It's like only $5 a month if you want to look at my art and stuff I don't post other places. But you can look at this kind of thing on my Twitter for free. I worked on this one on stream, so thankfully it's not stream illegal.
Yeah,
but sometimes they push it.
Well, fortunately, in a weird roundabout way, Twitch is more forgiving to the process of art than the final art. I'm
It's
not sure if
true.
you heard about this, but Nyanners had this weird scenario. It was late last year where
Yeah, with the
she got,
outfit.
yeah, where she
Yeah.
had this new model, which was
There
rather
was a lot going
revealing.
on.
There
Yeah.
was a lot going on. And she was very confident that it fit Twitch's TOS because she knew that the artist had worked on it on stream.
Yeah, she worked
And
on it all on stream, so that's what was crazy about
and
it. She streamed with it for, like, 2 days
and then
and
got
couldn't use
banned.
it.
And the clarification that Twitch gave her after the fact was that Twitch does not have, per the TOS, that there's a sort of delineation that they allow people to work on nude and semi-nude drawings, that if they are making the art, that at that point it is the artistic process, and when the model is being used actively, that it is then a representation of the streamer.
So
And
insane.
the clothing limits of what a streamer is allowed to wear on Twitch is more restrictive than their
The word
art
on it, yeah.
creation policy. So it's this weird delineation that I can see on paper where the difference is.
Mhm.
That I
Oh, yeah,
understand how
definitely.
that happened, but I just couldn't help but shake my head and be like, I felt very bad for Nanners because she obviously, commissioned this very nice model
Mhm,
that she's
mhm.
then not able to use because of what is
Too much
logical
skin.
enough and I suppose consistent by the letter of Twitch's law, but that doesn't make it any more palatable, shall we say, that it was
It
still
was
super
silly.
disappointing for her.
It was kinda funny, she put on a shirt that said, "I love Jesus" on her
Yeah.
model after that. I think
Yes.
about that sometimes because it made me laugh a lot.
Yeah. That she and I know Moriko Bat had a recent instance where she got banned for a short time, and just people returning from bans is always fun in their own way because it's a bit of a celebration, but then usually they will have
Mhm.
some sort of cheeky nod to Twitch, especially if there was something that was
Yeah.
silly that caused it in the first place.
If I ever get banned, it's probably gonna be because I drew too fat of an ass on my stream, to be honest. Like, that I think that's how I'm gonna go out if it happens to me.
Yeah, well, like we said, that as long as you're drawing it and it's not
Mhm.
being rigged and piloted, that you are more likely than not going to end up being safe.
That's why if it happens, that's how it's gonna happen. That's
Yeah.
how they're gonna take me out. They're gonna they're gonna snipe me for it one day, but as long as nobody in my chat
Oh, I
narcs,
hear
it's a
sirens are
hero
coming for
set.
you right now, Mimi. They're already onto you.
Sorry if that's really picking up a lot.
No, you're good. The
LA
timing
gets
was
a little
great.
noisy.
Twitch police, they're already coming for her.
They're outside of my home right now. For my Leon posting too.
Oh no. Did you kidnap Leon again?
Yeah, again, I'm sorry. This happens
Ah,
every week. It's like a Tom and Jerry situation. Please understand.
I told you. Mimi, if you're gonna keep kidnapping him, you gotta cover your
Mhm.
tracks better.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm learning. This is a learning experience. Please be
Mm,
patient with me. I'll
It,
write my Twitter post about it soon.
it's like Dark Souls. You have to iterate. You have to make sure that you're getting good at kidnapping Leon Kennedy.
I'll do my best. I'll keep working hard that the police won't find me for kidnapping charges.
I'm gonna move us back to the main screen, but thank you so much for sharing the different
Yeah.
artworks. That you have this very fun, very soft style,
Thank you.
and
Thank
that
you.
I've been fortunate to have a lot of really incredible artists on the show. And part of the fun for me as a host is seeing all these different styles, because I've had folks who work in
Mhm.
very dark color palettes and that do literal monster drawings, and
Yeah, yeah,
yours are all very fluffy, bright, human. And it's
yeah.
just
Mhm.
cool seeing what different people enjoy drawing.
I like I try to draw stuff that makes me happy or makes other people happy. I used to draw a lot of stuff that was maybe like different vibes or a lot harsher when I was younger, not as much anymore. And that was a way for me to kind of like get my feelings out and stuff. But now that I'm older, I'm like, if I draw someone smiling, I'm gonna smile. So that's kind of the attitude I have when I
Aw.
make art a lot. It makes me happy when someone says, "Oh, this drawing really like brightened my day," or that maybe I know I draw a lot of pinups and stuff, but people still say very nice
Hey, pinups
comments like
make people
that.
smile.
That's true, they do. They do. But I don't know. I just like drawing happy stuff. It puts me in a good mood. It puts other people in a good mood. It's a cycle of good moods.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna move us back to the main screen.
Oh.
Cha. Here we go. Yeah. So, well, moving from bright to some dark stuff. You mentioned that
Mm.
you enjoy horror games, but I know you also enjoy horror movies.
Yeah, I've been really into horror movies lately. I've been having a lot of fun.
Is there anything in particular that obviously horror is a very broad genre that you have your slasher, your psychological horror, you
Mhm,
have
mhm.
ones that are sort of a combination of mystery and thriller. Is there something that you particularly look for in your horror films?
I just like it being interesting to some degree. It can be kind of bad, but entertaining is kind of the attitude I've had with horror movies lately. But I like watching good movies too, I promise.
Mm.
There's just a lot of garbage horror, so I'll just pick something random sometimes off the streaming service and watch it even if it's dog shit. But
It,
I've been
it is
watching good
inter-
stuff too.
it is interesting that horror B films is its own sort of
Mm,
known subgenre that you don't normally get as many. I guess there aren't many documentary B films. That there are some
yeah.
comedy B movies, pun not intended for DreamWorks there, but that B grade horror in particular
Yeah,
is
yeah,
just
yeah.
its own thriving industry, and
It really is.
we have had even recently, there was the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, and just these
Oh yeah,
things
that
that
movie.
you're not going to get the AAA studios working on, but that people will take these wild concepts, and that sometimes those horror films end up being legitimately some of the scariest or just the most wild.
If a film is entertaining to any degree, it can be bad, it can be good, as long as it's keeping your attention. To me, that's an entertaining film. I'm trying to think of something recently I really liked. I just kind of throw on a lot of horror movies when I'm just sitting and hanging out. Because I'm usually pretty much down with whatever. You were asking me if there's a specific genre I really like, but I just like things that are engaging. But like some of my favorite movies, I really like Midsummer. I like a lot of things. Now I'm trying to parse it down. I just watched Scream recently, and I had a lot of fun with Scream because it was very tongue in cheek kind of comedy while still being really engaging and horrifying at moments. I somehow was not spoiled on the twist for Scream, even though it's like 30 years old or nearing there.
Uh,
I I pogged.
I don't really enjoy watching horror films that it's just a I don't have a problem with, having nightmares or, thing that something's gonna get me
Mm-hmm.
in the night or anything. It's just that's not the emotional brain response that I go to in my free time. But I love mysteries, and a lot of horror
They
is based on
overlap.
mystery.
Yeah,
So
it's
what I
true.
end up doing a lot is going to Wikipedia and just reading the synopses of like, okay, I'm at the movies and I see this trailer for a horror film, and as soon as the trailer ends, I say, I know I'm not going to see that movie. I have zero interest in seeing this movie, but the hook is good and I wonder what actually happens. So I will then, go to Wikipedia around the week of the film's release and be like, okay, so what actually is going on here? Is this person actually being possessed by a demon, or is it some, fake out? Is there some human reason for it? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I end up consuming my horror film media.
I understand. I was trying to go look at some of my favorites too, because I was trying to think about what else I like. I do really like mystery horror when they're making you solve something as it's going on. I think that's a lot of fun piecing it together. I like mystery stuff in general too, though. Those are I'm all over right now.
Yeah.
What am I talking about? What am I thinking about? Movie.
Movie.
I was looking
Movie
at my
good.
movies.
Very much movie
I
good.
I really like the original Candyman. I really like Jacob's Ladder, which that's kind of more psychological than horror, but it is kind of horrifying. I really like Jacob's Ladder. I watched that this year, I think. I
I
think I
know
did.
the name Jacob's Ladder, and I can't remember what it's about. Please remind me.
Yeah, it's a 1990 movie. Uh, and he's a dude who is returning home from the Vietnam War, and he struggles with like his mental health kind of thing, and he starts having hallucinations and flashbacks, and a lot of really spooky shit starts happening. It's a lot of like demonic kind of things and twisting your perception on what's going on. And the ending is really, really impactful. The whole movie's impactful. I really enjoyed it a whole lot. If you have any interest in what is the best genre to call this? There's a genre button. It's drama, mystery, and horror is how it's listed. So even if you're not that much of a horror person, if you like mystery and things falling together, I would recommend it a lot. It's a
Mhm.
really good film.
If nothing
Also,
else, this seems like one that I will read up on Wikipedia.
yeah, it's a really good movie. It's shot really well. It's a really good film. I like it a whole lot. And I really like Nope. I watched that last year, I think.
Yeah, I've read up on all of the recent Jordan Peele horror films that just those have ended up being so popular and getting such a good response from folks that I know enjoy horror that
It's good.
I've I've looked up the synopsis for Nope. I think it was Us and Get Out, and I think I'm trying to remember if there was one other, but that obviously Jordan Peele in the past half decade or so has really come to the forefront as one of the big minds in horror.
Yeah, I've see, it's interesting. I liked Get Out and Us, but at the time I felt like he was over explaining his endings. But then I watched Nope, and it was his best film in my opinion. I ended up liking it a lot. The way the movie was paced and how everything was laid out, and all the little tricks, the framing. It was a good film. It was a really good movie.
And that also has struck me as one that if I were to just actually sit down and watch one of his films, that uh, because of the nature of the film and just the way, like you're saying, the cinematography of it all
Yes,
seems really, really interesting.
it's a good film. I really enjoyed it a whole lot. I also really like The Thing, but I like John Carpenter. I think his movies are good. The Thing is a very good film too.
And I can't even remember when that one is, but obviously, the thing is a classic.
Yeah, 1982, I believe. I've just
Check
been I've been
research.
watching a lot of yeah, I was never into movies that much when I was younger. It was only in the last like 2 or 3 years I've started watching a lot more movies. So I've been keeping a letterbox and kind of tracking stuff I like or stuff I'm interested in, taking recs from friends. It's been good because I feel like a lot of artists, especially, they'll kind of stick to one medium. Like, oh, if somebody really likes watching anime, they're probably only going to watch anime, and that's one of their only art influences. But something I've liked about watching a lot of movies recently is there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of cinematography, shots, composition that you can honestly study from as an artist, even if you're drawing shit like anime girls or whatever, something totally unrelated. You're
Yeah.
absorbing different types of creativity, shot composition, and color choices than you would from just watching like animated shows. So I
Hmm.
think it's really important for basically everyone to watch movies. If you do any kind of art, it opens your eyes up to a lot of things, I think, if that makes sense.
Do you recall if there was a specific movie that really sort of got you into this current movie watching spree that you're on?
Not really. I just kind of slowly started watching more movies, and then I mostly had been watching movies with friends. I've been watching movies with people. But then I started watching things on my own because I realized I could just do that, and it kind of just slowly started happening more and more. I just toss on something when I'm sitting around.
Mm. Are there any upcoming ones that you're really looking forward to?
Movies that are coming, I want to watch the Barbie movie really bad. It's not a horror movie, but all of the PR around the Barbie movie is so funny.
Oh yeah, it it was one that, when I saw that they were going to make a Barbie movie, I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, of course." I'm kind of surprised
Yeah.
they haven't had a proper big budget Barbie movie before now that they've had their animated films, just for years and years and years.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That I have some younger siblings that watched a couple of them back in the day, and obviously Barbie is a pop culture icon in North America. So naturally, of course, I forget if it's Hasbro or whatever toy company is gonna make a Barbie movie. That makes sense. And then seeing people's reaction to the trailer, that I saw the reactions to the trailer before I saw the trailer itself, and people were going wild. And at first, I couldn't tell if they were just memeing of just, saying, "Oh,
It
the
looks
Barbie movie
legit
looks
good.
incredible," and uh, you know, sometimes you'll see folks just sort of clowning on a movie that is not
Yeah.
actually looking very good and saying, "Oh, this looks like it's gonna be the best thing ever, ha ha ha,"
Yeah, the irony
and
poisoning kind of attitude.
mhm, and then just realizing, "Oh, no, wait, they're actually excited." It was
Yeah.
I think I saw 1 or 2 friends that I know usually don't have that type of irony post saying that it was good. I was like, "Wait a minute. Oh, they're serious.
It looks
People are
awesome.
actually liking it." And then I watched it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this thing is just absurd that it's that
It's gonna be
wonderful balance
campy.
of camp and self-aware." Exactly, that they know what they are making,
I
and
love
they're
camp.
not trying to do something that is too serious, and the way that they have just all the characters and all the male characters frankly positioned of I'm Ken,
It's
I'm Ken.
I'm
Just
Ken. Got the Kenergy. The interview with Ryan Gosling about his role as Ken was like the funniest thing that sold me on it.
oh, I haven't
They
seen this.
started. Oh, I gotta find it. I'll send it to you. He talks about having Kenergy and really embodying Ken, and he talked about on some kind of I don't know where he said it. He was talking about how Greta Gerwig got him to accept the role because he didn't want it at first. He said no, but Greta Gerwig, the director, she kept like harassing him and just being Ken. Like she wanted Ryan Gosling as Ken, and she sent him a picture of a Ken doll face down in the dirt next to like half of a lemon, and he said this is the image that made me go I'm gonna play this role. And I
What?
it's so funny. I'm obsessed with everything Ryan Gosling has said about this movie. It just seems I really want to watch it.
I'm gonna have to look this up now.
I'll try to find it
I'm
for you
so
because it lives in my
sounds
head.
just a Ken doll face down and a lemon.
I'm pretty sure
I'm
it was
so
it was some kind of citrus next to him, and it was
my
in the dirt.
gosh.
It was just it's beautiful. He's gonna kill that role as Ken, and Margot Robbie is just a really good actress anyway. So I just think it's gonna be a really good
Yeah,
movie.
it seems like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and that it's you were talking earlier of just it's fun to see people getting excited about things,
Yeah,
and obviously, a shocker, I didn't exactly grow up with Barbie as a major influence on my life. That I
understandable.
acknowledge Barbie's place in pop culture, and that for a lot of people, that she is a character and a brand that people grew up with. So initially, I was just thinking, okay, I hope that they do a good Barbie movie for all the Barbie fans out there. I hope that it's something nice for them. So now seeing it sort of break through and just become something that people in general are excited to see is like,
Yeah.
okay, that it's not every day that you have something that is that type of normally targeted media really break into
Mm-hmm.
mainstream.
That's why it's good they're leaning into the camp and things like that because it does add a more general appeal because everybody they've been aware of Barbie growing up, right? I was
Yeah.
a tomboy, so I didn't even really play with like Barbies that much. I just wasn't as much of a me thing, but I did play a lot of Barbie Horse Adventure too. I won't lie about that.
Oh, did it was there some particularly compelling game design there?
I just really liked horses, and it was on my PC,
That's
so
fair.
I was doing that Barbie Horse Adventure. But even then, I love camp. I love over the top things. That's part of why I ended up liking Resident Evil so much because it's such a campy series. So
Mm.
I love camp movies. I'm so down for this. One of my favorite films that's not a horror movie is but I'm a cheerleader, and it's a pretty iconic like gay camp film. And I need more movies like that. I need more crazy stuff like this. I want it. The direction and but I'm a cheerleader is really good too.
I've never actually heard of that one.
It's a 1999 film, uh, and it's basically like this cheerleader who has a boyfriend and stuff. She doesn't really like her boyfriend, and she basically gets sent to a sexual redirection school because her parents think she's gay. And so they basically go to a gay correction school, but then all of the gay kids who are there just kind of do romp stuff, and it's basically like a lesbian movie at the end of the day. But it's very, very campy. All of the art direction is really over the top. It really plays into itself. I really like that film a whole lot. It's definitely not for everybody, but I love it.
Mm, that I think when I think of camp films that are, about something that is normally niche and then just broke into mainstream is funny enough, another classic toy movie, and that's Clue.
Yeah. Oh, I've never actually seen the Clue movie, but I've heard that's good.
Oh, it is so much fun. That they had 3 different endings that they showed apparently in different theaters. Most releases
Oh,
nowadays would have,
really?
and it's just the last 2 minutes really that varies. Um,
Interesting. Oh,
and
yeah, it says 3 endings. I just looked it up.
yeah, most of the time, that the releases nowadays will just have all 3 stitched together, and it'll go through one ending, say, but what if ... and then show the next sequence and then the third. and that they do have what is effectively a true ending, and that's a fun little cherry on top to what is
Mhm.
already just a wild and fantastic film that you have. Why am I playing on his name? Tim Curry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of just playing the role of the facilitator butler and just leader of the band of idiots. And
Mhm, mhm.
it's so much fun that if you want to see some really classic, just solid comedy performances, top to bottom, that it is a hour and a half very well spent.
I'll put it on my watch list because that sounds like a fun time to me. I've heard of it and I've heard good things about it, so you know why not? I'm gonna throw it on there. I've
And
been taking movie recommendations from most people because I don't know, it's fun.
that one sort of hit the mark for me because, like I mentioned, I enjoy mysteries, and that
Mhm.
it being both a comedy and a genuinely good mystery with good performances was fun for me. One of the, it's pseudo horror. Most will consider it horror. I really enjoyed Cabin in the Woods because for
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
it it doesn't strike the normal horror mentality because it's a deconstruction of the genre, really, and that it's very self-aware. And I don't know if you would consider that camp or just
No, Cabin
it.
in the Woods would definitely count as camp. I think I've seen that too back when I was in college. Camp, basically, I think the definition of camp is it respects the silliness while taking itself a little seriously sometimes.
Hmm,
It's the self-awareness is what makes camp so good, I think.
yeah,
And you could definitely lean too far in one direction where just the jokes aren't landing and it does feel disrespectful to whatever it's poking fun at or playing with, but Cabin in the Woods is a funny little weird horror movie.
yeah, just that they reveal exactly what's going on in the opening sequence in the first scene,
Mhm.
and yet it's also still its own mystery, and it's very fun to see all of the different tropes playing out, and then it's just a wild ride, really, from beginning to end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you oh, what are those movies that just came out? I didn't like the second one, but I liked the first one. They're mystery movies. Give me one moment to remember what the hell it's called. Oh, Knives Out. I really like
Oh,
Knives Out. Have you watched that?
I love Knives Out, and I also loved Glass Onion.
See, I didn't like Glass Onion as much. I don't know why. I think maybe it was a little too readable for me. Like I guessed everything as it was happening, which maybe I just am good at media literacy. I don't know. But Knives Out, I really was super engaged with, and I liked that movie a lot. I liked it a lot, a lot.
Yeah, that's another one of just that I like ensemble performances, and
Mhm.
while obviously Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc is the lead and he's fantastic in that role, that I would not mind just if we get another Knives Out movie every 2 to 3 years, just sort of in perpetuity, that they're very much taking the Agatha Christie Poirot approach of these are not interconnected, that you have
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
the same detective that is gonna be, solving the mystery, but otherwise surrounded by a new cast of characters and an independent plot. If we get another Benoit Blanc movie every 3 years for the foreseeable future, I would be very happy.
He's a really good actor in those roles, so I agree. He just really sells it. He's why they're so fun to watch sometimes, I
Yeah,
think.
and just the the way he does his southern drawl, knowing
Yeah.
that Daniel Craig is not southern, he is very far from it, but he just sells that accent so well, and it's just it those are some of my favorite films of the past couple years, full stop.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm glad that even if you didn't quite enjoy Glass Onion, I'm glad you like Knives Out.
It was still fun to watch, but, like, I definitely thought, "Oh, I like Knives Out so much more," but I'm also a big fan of Umineko, and I like family drama kind of stuff.
Uh, yeah,
So when I was watching Knives Out, I was like, "Oh, this is just like Umineko for real, for real."
yeah. Uh, won't go into spoilers for that for anyone in chat who hasn't seen, but definitely recommended for both of them, at least on my
Mm.
part, that it's a very fun couple of films if you enjoy mystery.
They are fun. I like piecing stuff together as it's like, eh, slowly being revealed or they're tricking you with the red herrings. That kind of stuff is so fun in a movie.
Yeah.
Keeps it engaging.
Actually, I did just think of, I would probably count it as camp. Did you see the new Dungeons and Dragons movie?
No, but I've heard people are really liking that a whole lot. I was never into D&D or anything like that or tabletops, but
Hmm.
I've I've heard very good things about it.
Yeah, it was very predictable for me that was one movie that I walked out of saying I don't think I was genuinely surprised by any of the plot twists. But at the
Mhm,
same
mhm.
time, it was very, very fun. It had one sequence that made me laugh harder than I think any movie has made me laugh in a theater in the past 5 years at least.
Oh,
Um,
dang. High
and that
praise.
if you know D&D, that there's just a lot of stuff that they baked into the film very naturally, that yeah, there are a lot of references, yes, but it's not overt references, that they're just so baked in that if you walked in blind and were told this is a fantasy movie, about a band of
Mm, mm.
thieves, you could still
It
have a
would
very
work.
good time.
Yeah.
But it it's weird that in a way it becomes camp only if you are aware of those elements, because then you realize the references they're making that would otherwise just be natural.
Mhm, mhm. I'm I'm trying to think of other movies people have been really liking lately too. Hmm.
Hearing some birdies in the background.
Oh yeah, my window is open. I'm sorry my mic is picking up on so much. Usually Discord and stuff has the filters, but
You're good. I'm glad it's a nice day wherever you are.
it is. It's always nice in Southern California. To be honest, it's always sunny. There's sometimes clouds. Usually there's not clouds. There are no clouds today.
Actually, speaking of which, I do know that it's very different from horror and camp, that
Mm,
you just enjoy nature documentaries, which,
I do.
it's about as far as horror as you can get from horror and camp. But what was the first nature documentary you remember seeing? Because it's not
Oh,
a
I
very
just
common genre, I suppose.
I would just put on Animal Planet on, like, my cable television when I was younger, and I would just watch whatever they had because I just really liked animals. I still really like animals. So I don't know, you just learn a lot of, like, little interesting facts. It was just stuff they played all the time, so I can't remember anything off the top of my head, but I've seen plenty. But I love anything narrated by David Attenborough. I'm gonna be devastated when he stops narrating nature documentaries. He's the best.
Yeah, the narrators do usually end up not necessarily making or breaking documentaries, but they can take a good documentary to the next level, and a poor narrator can definitely drag one down.
I love hearing David Attenborough talk about animals and nature so much. It makes me feel very happy and calm. The Blue Planet was really cool. That was the one that was a lot of it was about the ocean and water. Obviously, it's called Blue Planet. I don't know why I felt the need to explain that. But he also I remember when I was in high school, my like advanced biology teacher was showing us some kind of David Attenborough documentary. It was the one from the earlier mid 2000s, but now I can't remember what the name was for it. But I remember it was pretty significant because it had some of it was like years and years in the making or something and filming all over the world. What is it called? I gotta look this up.
And I suppose David Attenborough has, in a way, I think, set the standard for nature documentary narration, that he is that quintessential
Yeah, yeah,
English
yeah.
British narrator, and that whenever I hear just British narrators on documentaries in general nowadays, it feels like they're trying to play into what David Attenborough has really established in that broader genre.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The Wonderful for the BGM. I'm not sure, Eli. I was trying to go on his Wikipedia to see if I could quickly find it, but I don't. Filmography. Oh, I have to click through. I see. There are so many things here.
Actually, as I'm looking up David Attenborough, he just turned 97.
Oh, happy birthday to David Attenborough. Oh, it was just called Planet Earth, wasn't it?
Or rather, sorry, he that he wait, yeah, he did turn 97. Yes.
I think the documentary I was thinking of is literally named Planet Earth because
Oh,
it's
well,
like
there
a
you go.
I don't know
It
why
is what it
it's really
says on the tin.
it's what it says on the tin. I couldn't remember it was titled Planet Earth. I'm sorry, there's a comedy to that. That's great. That's very funny.
That, there's a lot of films that will have very artistic names and will reference a common theme. And for documentaries, it just ends up being March of the Penguins. That you
Yeah.
know what that's about, and Planet Earth. Well, so all right, we've got our new documentary. What is it going to be covering? We're going to be covering, it's a very
All of
general
it.
nature documentary. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff on the planet. Okay, what are we going to call it?
Planet Earth.
Planet Earth. By
Yeah.
gosh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was like it was only 4 years in the making. I thought it was much longer than that. And there was a lot of like really cool footage from it. It really struck me when I was younger. I don't remember details, but I don't know. I just like animals. If I never got into anime and drawing, I think I would have been one of those people that is just really into animals and biology.
Mhm. Are there any movies that you feel do animals very well that aren't documentaries?
I guess I don't think about that all too much. Normally, in most movies, animals are just kind of a vehicle for the plot or characters in many
That's fair.
instances. But I mean,
Well, actually, in that case, I'll wrap it back to Pokemon for a minute.
oh, okay.
I don't know about you, but when I saw Detective Pikachu in the theaters, I
Mm,
got unexpectedly choked up during the opening sequence where they just showed Pokemon in nature, and that it sort of felt like what would be a
yeah,
documentary moment, and that for whatever reason, it, they
it got
did
to
such
you.
a
I
good
understand.
job of showing what would be Pokemon in the real world. And it was the type of thing that,
Mm.
growing up with Pokemon, that's the type of stuff that you imagine as a kid of what would it be like to live in a world where there are Pidgey flying around. So seeing that, it hit home for me unexpectedly.
Yeah, I can imagine. I never ended up watching that because I think I got a little freaked out. The Pokemon looks so
Oh.
realistic, but I
There's a
do
couple
actually
of
want to
them that
watch
do
it.
look a little uncanny, but the vast majority actually landed really well for me.
I just remember that Psyduck, I think, and it really scared me when I
Fair.
saw it in the
It's
trailer.
the Psyduck and the Mr. Mime
They're so
were
scary looking. But RJ Palmer, I believe that's his name, the artist who did all of the realistic designs for Detective Pikachu. He was somebody who did a lot of those original, like, what if Pokemon were real? Look at the dinosaurs kind of thing when he started doing them on a DeviantArt years and years ago.
Oh, I
I
didn't know
remember that.
that.
Oh, you didn't really? Yeah, no, he was the artist who made a lot of the original like images that floated
So
around
it
online. Like, look at these hyper realistic Pokemon. This is what they look like in real life.
Oh, that makes me appreciate it even more,
Yeah,
going back to, fan artists then being
yeah,
able to see their
exactly.
work become, even if it's not the exact things that he worked on, that the style and the ideas that he had then wound up being relevant, that they
It's
became
so
canon in their
cool.
own way.
I remember even if I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of put off by the realisticness of this movie," I was so charmed to learn that he was the one who got hired to do the designs and stuff. Very talented dude. Been doing it for years and years. It's interesting because it's like you start out on DeviantArt when you're an art baby, and then artists that you've seen a long time go on to do really cool stuff, and that was one of them.
That's so neat, and that, uh, I I'm sort of two minds. That part of me would like to see more in that world of,
Mm,
even if it's not necessarily a sequel to Detective Pikachu. I don't think that story needs a sequel. The way that it wraps up is just fine. That
self-contained, yeah.
Yeah, that could they potentially have more mysteries in that world? Sure. I don't think that'd be necessary, but I'd love to see something just, in that world of other characters
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
other things, that uh, they took enough liberties with the world that it wouldn't need to match the anime one for one in how things work. So,
Yeah, how it plays
whether it
out.
be, just a traditional Pokemon battle story of, all right, somebody going through their respective region and facing gym
Yeah,
leaders or
yeah.
taking on Team Rocket, that I would like to see that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it, it'd just be cool to see more things like that, more iterations. Maybe make Mr. Mime a little less scary looking,
Yeah, make it
but
so his shoulders don't look like dodgeballs.
maybe make him a little spooky. But it'd be interesting to see if they do anything further with that. Because didn't it do really well? People really liked Detective Pikachu when it came out, if I'm
If
remembering
memory
right.
serves, that at that point it became the highest grossing video game movie.
Oh, geez.
I'm pretty sure it's been passed by a couple more recent ones, and obviously the Super Mario Brothers movie, which has just been a complete blockbuster. But that,
Oh, has it been like killing the rating?
oh,
See,
it
I saw people
if
talking about
memory
cameras
serves,
mostly.
If memory serves, it hit 500 million a couple weeks ago.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. They didn't make Chris Pratt have enough of a funny Italian guy voice, though.
It was interesting that I was genuinely impressed, and I think this is one of the highest compliments that I can give Chris Pratt, is
Mm.
that as I watched the movie, I forgot it was Chris Pratt. That I had to actively remind myself at certain moments as I was just sort of marveling at the film of like, "Oh, wait, that is Chris Pratt. Huh."
It,
That
it's a Chris Pratt jump scare moment.
sort of that the line that he used in the first trailer was not used in the final film, and that
Oh,
what we
really?
hear in the final film just sounds much more natural, that it doesn't sound like him, it
Mm,
doesn't sound particularly Italian, that they went very much more New Yorker than
that makes
Italian,
sense, yeah.
but that it does take a certain level of skill to make a voice sound very natural and unforced
Mm.
and make it not sound like your natural voice.
It's true. I mean, voice actors in general are just really impressive people.
Yeah, so definitely recommended that, it's 90 minutes. It knows exactly what it wants to be. Is it high art?
Mm.
Certainly not. That this isn't going to be one where you're getting, super perhaps insightful cinematography
Oh,
of just,
yeah. I mean,
the
it's Mario.
but
It's aimed at families
yeah,
and kids. It's just gonna be a fun little romp kind of
yeah.
thing.
But they made it very fun. And obviously Jack Black as Bowser, that I think since day one, everyone has very much agreed, all right, that's
Absolutely.
inspired casting, that,
It is.
regardless of if they took the safe route with Chris Pratt, that it sort of goes back to the concept of putting, um, why am I blanking on his name? The Pokemon games singer, poof.
Ed Sheeran,
Ed
yeah.
Sheeran, thank you. Yeah, that it's along the same lines of putting Ed Sheeran in Pokemon. Of you have the mainstream recognizable name of Chris Pratt that yes is probably going to turn some heads for folks that
Mhm,
might have been
mhm.
on the fence, but then that they let themselves really have fun, and that Jack Black, unsurprisingly, just goes ham with the role. And
I would watch it
yeah,
if only for Jack Black, but I also heard that Luigi's not in it that much, and I love Charlie Day, so I
he's
got
really
sad to
good.
hear that.
That his role is definitely secondary, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
hoping
yeah.
that they'll give him more to work with in what will inevitably be the sequel. It has made far too much money to not
Oh,
get a sequel.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, no, there's gonna
Um,
be a sequel.
well, hey, after what happened 30 years ago, there's a reason it took 30 years for us to get another one. So, but at the same time, as soon as they announced that they were making a new Mario movie, I was confident that it was going to be baseline okay. That
Yeah.
I
It'll be
there was no
non-offensive kind
way,
of thing,
yeah,
inoffensive.
they would Nintendo would not let themselves repeat 1993. That they had to have that specter just hanging over them from day one, just from the script concept to the visuals. They knew the albatross around their neck, and that I was frankly more scared of them being too safe and being too simple than doing something that would be bad, because I think they would do what WB with Batgirl did and not release a completed movie, then risk 1993 again.
Yeah. I'm glad that people seem to be really enjoying it though. I'm not super familiar with all the old stuff. I just do know that the old Mario movies were really, really goofy. It got weird.
It it was a case back then of Nintendo having what is now an unthinkable level of lack of oversight, that they were just
Ah,
hands
yeah.
off for the film. The thing went through 7 rewrites from 7 or 8 different writers. Um, and I only saw it for myself earlier this year, actually. And eh, I don't know if you can consider that camp. It's just not good. And
It's
fortunately,
just not
it
good.
it unfortunately, if you watch it with the mindset of I am going to go watch a bad film, that it is at least going to be a fun bad film. That it's not quite. Have you ever seen The Room?
I haven't, but I know many things about it.
I have watched The Room again only the past couple years, and that is a movie that I watch and say it is. You watch that movie not because it is fun, because it is not so bad that it becomes good again. It is just bad. It is a
Mhm, mhm.
irredeemable piece of unentertaining media.
And it just kind of was
but
elevated to a cult thing.
that you watch the room to marvel at the result and to wonder how did this happen.
Yeah, yeah. I just looked up the 1993 Mario Bro movie, and this is I understand. I now understand. I just had to look at a picture. Now I
And
understand.
just those still images and a synopsis on Wikipedia will not do it justice. It's really bad, Mimi. It is impressively bad, but at the very
I
least,
want to watch it
it,
now.
but it does still fortunately end up being so bad that I won't call it good, but it is bad in a way that can still be
Entertaining.
enjoyable and entertaining in its own twisted, incredible way.
I understand. I I want to watch it. This sounds
Just,
movie.
but at the same time, like I said, that's why I was confident that when Nintendo announced the new movie that they were not
Not
going to
gonna do
take those
this. Yeah.
risks. That I'm sure there was a lot of oversight on every step of this process to avoid what happened.
It was Illumination that did the new Mario movie too,
Yeah,
right?
and that's about as safe as it gets. It's the studio that made the Minions, and even if like I don't like the Minions, I respect the Minions for being as successful as they are at the very
I don't
least.
like them either. They scare me.
It just,
And there's this one. I'm sure maybe you haven't seen this. Maybe I just exist on weird parts online. When I think about the Minions, I just think about that stupid picture of the Minion in a thong my friend would not stop posting at me in like 2014 or whatever it was. It's the Minion in a red thong, and I hate that.
I
That's the
don't
first thing
think
I always
I've
think of.
seen it,
I'm glad
and
you
if I
haven't.
have, I probably have
Put it
unconsciously
out of your
shut it out of
memory.
my memory.
Good. Good, because it lives in my brain because I kept every day I would log onto Twitter and my friend would be posting the fucking Minion
Like,
ass.
was it just sort of a scheduled daily post, same art, same time?
I think she was just doing it randomly throughout the day. I saw it so many times.
I only ever saw the first Despicable Me, and I thought Despicable Me was a fine, fun movie. I enjoyed it, and that
Mhm.
for the supporting background gag character role, I thought the Minions were very fun.
They
That
were little guys, yeah.
I thought that that was a cool, quirky little way to have some funny moments. No problem with them. And I don't necessarily have a problem with the Minions. I have no interest in seeing an entire movie about them.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. I've never actually watched the movies, but all I
But
know is that the
they've made a
Minions
lot
got
of money.
they
They've
they
made a
sent the
lot of money.
Minions to the Antarctic during World War II, and I think that's the funniest thing I know about the Minions.
What?
Oh yeah, they didn't want the Minions to help Hitler or something, so they said that they sent the Minions to the Antarctic or some crap during the years that Hitler was in power.
Huh.
It's really funny to me. It's
Hadn't
true.
e-
Yeah, see, chat's backing me up.
hadn't even thought of them having to do that narratively, but now that you mention it, that
Yeah,
depending
they
on the
started
years
like
that they
evil
did
people, right?
for, because they had the prequel movie about the Minions, and
Mm.
if the existence of the Minions spans back to the 1930s and 40s, they would have to explain
They had
something about what they were doing during those years in history.
they had to send them to get frozen. I think that's like my entire like Minion knowledge. I
Like,
know that and the picture of the Minion in a thong.
I respect it in this really odd way of, well, you saw the problem and you found a solution,
They worked around. They made a workaround.
but the Minions have become one of the most merchandisable, popular franchises and most recognizable little
Little
creature
freaks.
things, and they've made a lot of money, and that Illumination has grown to be the major
they're
player
huge now.
in the animation box office of Hollywood nowadays, and that Nintendo going with them, when I saw that, it was okay. That makes perfect sense. That
Oh,
you're gonna
totally.
go with a AAA studio for this. And in a way that made more sense than them sort of associating with one of the bigger studios like
Yeah.
Universal or Paramount that have all these other parent companies that, at least if memory serves, that Illumination is relatively independent. So
I believe so, yeah.
that it would probably be easier for them to work with Nintendo in that way, since they're not then going through different layers of parent companies.
It might be Universal, but I don't
Maybe?
remember. Because the Minions, I feel like,
Who
aren't
owns
the Minions
Illumination?
at
Oh, you're right, it
Universal?
is Universal. I was
Yeah,
wrong.
it's okay. They just kind of do their own thing, though. I mean, it's just like, Pixar having its own studio and Illumination having its own thing. They got their joints. They got
Yeah.
their gigs.
Yeah, but it was a fun movie. Nothing crazy to write home about, but it was nice to just see it was nice to see a character as iconic as Mario done well and done right, even if
Yeah.
it's not something earth-shattering.
Yeah, just a fun little lad movie.
It surprisingly has been a good year, I suppose, for these icon characters between Barbie and Mario and other ones that we're getting.
I feel like also just at least with me, my age range is getting up there where they're catering to stuff that I liked when
A
I
little
was
bit
younger,
that
kind of thing.
and part of it isn't necessarily that they are catering to us, but it is that we're getting to the point where people our age are the ones in
Making
power
things too,
and being able
yeah.
to be directors or people in the writers' rooms, and that it, fortunately society has progressed in a way that enjoying these types of things is no longer seen as a bad thing. That I feel like rewind the
Yeah.
clock 30 years, that adults liking Barbie would be seen as weird.
Oh, yeah, no,
Adults
definitely.
like a video games obviously have gone from being this niche thing to stereotypically nerdy to just everybody plays games, and
Yeah,
that's been a very
especially
nice
with
thing to
phones.
see. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
I
That
think that's the reason they're more accepted in the mainstream is the fact that the average person can, like, play a game on their phone and spend a
mhm.
lot of time in, like, app games and stuff, so it's become a little more normalized. I'm not saying that's exactly why, but I do
Well,
think that's why some
you're
attitudes have shifted kinda
You're
thing.
you're really correct there that it's because of phones that they're statistically speaking, the average gamer nowadays is a woman who's I think age like 39, 40-ish,
Yeah.
because of how many play on phones. That skews the
Candy
metrics.
Crush.
Oh,
The old
woof.
white women love Candy
Mhm,
Crush.
mhm.
I would know, my mom loved Candy Crush, like, years ago.
Yeah, and just between that and the Nintendo Wii brought a lot of broader visibility into gaming, that you ended up having families and senior
Oh, yeah,
citizens
definitely.
playing Wii Sports and stuff. Some screens may have been lost in the process, but hey,
You have to have the little, like, wrist protector thing so it doesn't fly
yeah, the
off into
wrist
the
strap.
TV. My sister had a Wii for my nephew, but I never actually had one, so sometimes I would try it out, and I was always afraid I was gonna chuck it at the TV.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of videos on YouTube of those ill-prepared instances where people did not read the instructions of please use the wrist strap. That they started having those very standard as you would load up a Wii game of the reminder. Do you have the
Yeah.
wrist strap on?
Did
And
you put it on?
it if it felt like something that was sort of a nuisance at a point, but then when you see just how many times people didn't and
Yeah,
broke very, very expensive TVs, that
yeah.
it's there for a reason.
The natural progression now is accidentally hurting yourself in VR and
VR,
hitting your
yes.
controllers on shit all the time. I'm going to get a grievous bodily injury one time because I'm just gonna be spinning too much as an anime girl in virtual reality, and then I'm gonna break my foot or something. I know it's gonna happen. I hope it
Yeah,
won't happen, but
the number of times that I forgot who it was that somebody recently was just in VR, and then you hear a clunk and just, oh no, I just spilled my drink everywhere, or someone's
I had
moving
done
in,
it
thunk,
twice.
ow, my leg.
I I've spilled 2 drinks, the first 2 times I streamed VR. And I poured one of them on the foot tracker, and that was very scary because 'cause I'm borrowing these from my friend.
Uh-oh.
It turned out fine, it was okay, but then
Moriko shattered her hand, Picky ran into
she
a wall,
did.
I think Mint fell down and messed up her finger.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
she was on my stream, and we were fishing, and she slammed her pinky on a TV and, like, busted it open, and she had to
Ooh.
suddenly end, and I was like, "Oh no, the fishing did this."
The usual fishing industry, or injury rather, is, ow, like the hook caught something.
Yeah,
Uh,
TV injury, fishing. It's real. She caught a big one, though.
hey, and that's what matters in the end.
It is. even though she busted her finger so bad. I felt so
Whoa.
bad for her. I felt so bad for her. I felt like it was my fault because it was on my stream, even though that's
No.
not the case. I was like, "Oh, I'm a bad party host. She hurt herself in my hosting vicinity."
It's going to be interesting to see how just game room and setup design adapts as VR continues to grow. That, I don't
Yeah.
think that we're anywhere near close to, full on quote unquote metaverse stuff. We're not near Ready Player One, but that more and more good VR experiences are being made. And I don't expect it to necessarily be in the
Hmm.
next 5 years where half of games are VR. I don't think we're going to get to that, but
Oh,
I think
definitely
that we're
not.
going to continue seeing a few solid VR releases every year that will increasingly hit the mainstream. And even if it's not the primary way that we play games, I think it's going to continue to be a
Hmm.
way that we play games. And
Oh,
inevitably,
definitely.
these types of I keep saying industry instead of injury. These types of injuries will still keep happening, and it's just
Hmm.
going to be sort of learnings of, okay, what are best practices for room setup, or just do people start making different safety devices or features to make it so you are less likely to hit your hand on something? That how are we going to figure out the
Yeah.
ways around this?
I do know people personally who will just use spare rooms to be their VR room only, so they don't hurt themselves on furniture. I don't have that option,
Yeah,
so
some folks
I'm
only
a
have one room to work
liability.
with.
But I do think VR is really interesting because we're in the middle of this technology developing and coming out. So it's honestly still kind of in its infancy in terms of accessibility to like customers and that kind of thing. It's still pretty expensive to get into, but it's so cool. And it's going to be really cool to see how it keeps evolving because I already think VR chat is just insane. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
wild. You can just track your body and be a funny little guy in virtual reality. And it feels like you're hanging out in the same room as your friends who are all across the world.
Yeah,
It's
VR chat
nuts.
I think is the best VR game experience that is available today, full stop.
Definitely. I definitely want to maybe play some VR games, but I've just been enjoying doing a VR chat stuff for the time being. I think I might if I tried to play a horror game in VR, I think I would probably die, to be
That's
honest.
one where it's going to be the risk of, if you don't have the wrist strap on the controller, that you could end up throwing it.
Yeah, I or running into something because I'm trying to run. Because when I hang out with Elle Sawyer in VR, she purposely antagonizes me because she thinks it's cute. But then she gets me so bad on the horror maps. I can't do it. I love watching horror movies. I like reading horror, and I like playing them. But those even playing a game scares me. I'm just sitting at my desk, and then you're actually in virtual reality, and it's like you're there. It's too much. It's too scary.
Yeah, I actually just installed VR chat for the first time recently. So fun fact about Vtuber Talk,
Mm,
I ran this off of a MacBook for the first almost 2 years,
whoa.
because I had gotten that MacBook about 6 months prior to starting VTuber Talk. And at that
Yeah.
point, I was like, I don't need a powerful computer. I don't stream or anything. It's fine. And then go
Hmm.
and start streaming 6 months later. But at
Yeah.
that point, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go and buy a new PC just to stream with. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why VTuber Talk is using very simplistic assets. I don't have a fancy moving background because I wanted to keep the load on
Oh,
my
definitely. Yeah.
computer as light as possible. Um, but I did eventually upgrade, so now I'm getting to start delving into things, and that since I don't
Hmm.
do my own normal streams, that I haven't really had a ton of need for VR chat, but I actually got it recently to hang out with some friends. So
It's fun
uh,
hanging.
yeah, and it's cool that I always enjoy watching VR chat streams, because exploring those different worlds and just seeing the mayhem and the chaos that people are able to create
Yeah.
and get up to with their friends in those worlds obviously makes for really, really entertaining content. And
It
that I know you and your friends that the VR chat streams are very, very fun.
They are really fun because it really is just like you're hanging out, you're just chilling. And I don't know, I really think it's amazing, I guess, because it does feel like you're in the same room. And it's like I'm hanging out with my friends from Finland and the Netherlands in virtual reality. That's just crazy to me. I don't think people could have conceptualized this even 10 years ago, to be
Yeah.
honest.
And just, obviously the past several years of, going through lockdown and not being able to see people in person, that there is never a
Mm.
good
Oh,
time
definitely,
for
yeah.
things like that, but there has never been a better time for it either because,
100%.
we have the internet, we have streaming, and that VTubing, I think it's very reasonable to say, was a beneficiary of it as well. That, well, people were
100%,
inside,
yeah.
and that I think there's no way to quantify this, but I do think that
Mhm.
an additional appeal on top of the many obvious ones for VTubing is that I think a lot of people wanted to watch streamers and watch people that weren't sitting in their bedroom, that,
Yeah, no, for
weren't
sure.
inside because everyone was inside, and being able to see someone, in VR chat or
Moving
just
around,
that has a
exploring.
nice background that is, some sunny outdoors area that
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
their home studio. I think there may have been just that little extra bit on top of all the other things that VTubing had going for it.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and it's definitely kinda they're different kinds of streams when you're doing VR too, because it's something I kinda like about it is you do kinda have to, like, body act more if you're someone who has kinda reserved body language normally. At least I do it. I think it's fun to do. I like overacting my normal, like, little
Oh yeah,
body
that
language kinda thing. It's
you're
fun.
working with a puppet really, and that
Yeah,
being able to overact a bit is gonna just one
it's
get
really
the better
fun.
reactions in terms of what the model is going to respond to. But yeah,
Exactly.
it's fun.
It's just fun, and people like to see you be goofy. I like to see people be goofy. It's a good time. I don't know, it's really fun to stream in VR. It's taxing, and it takes up a lot of space, and then you gotta deal with your chargers dying and stuff, but I've been really, really enjoying it. I just really like being able to hang out with people.
Mm, yeah, and I know, just on top of all this, so we were mentioning different art styles, different types of
Mm,
movies, and you mentioned that you think that people should watch films regardless of what type of media they normally enjoy. That, even if you are a big
100%.
anime fan, that watching live action films are going to help you get a better appreciation of shot composition, and especially if you're an artist, to have that as an idea. But I do know
Exactly.
that you are also a big anime fan.
Oh, hell yeah, I am.
That
I
you
like a lot.
actually you sent me this image of just some of your favorite ones, and we do have a fair bit of overlap. That there was Code
Yeah,
Geass
yeah,
on
yeah.
there, which is my personal favorite. You have several very dramatic ones. You also have the
Love drama.
slice of life ones in there. We have Kaon no Nonburi. Oh, the Critic of
Yeah,
Innocence. Thank you for the follow. Welcome on it. Uh,
yeah.
what anime have you watched most recently?
I've been watching a lot of Gundam, like, a lot. I just got really into Gundam for no reason. I know you had to cut me off in our pre-interview the other night
Yeah.
because I started talking about Gundam a bunch, but I either watch, like, a ton of anime or I don't watch much at all. I just go between the 2, and then in January, I decided, "Okay, I will start at the beginning of Gundam, why not?" And then in 2 months, I watched all of UC Gundam, and I think I went insane. I'm still insane, but I really, 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 really like it. I've found a new hobby too with Gunpla and stuff, but they're just really good. Gundam is very good. And I think it's overwhelming for a lot of people, but once you get into it, you can really just start at the beginning and kind of pick and choose after that what you want to go through. I'm just insane and I want to watch all of it because I'm a sicko, and that's going to take me a while, but it's okay. I'm just a sicko.
Was there anything in particular that really appealed to you for Gundam? Whether it be just,
Yeah.
mechs are cool. Did you like the action, the drama?
I like all of it, but part of the reason I like it is how crazy some of it gets. Because Tomino, the original director, he's just kind of off his shits a lot of times. So my favorite ended up being Zeta Gundam and Char's Counterattack because he was wild, and the character drama and those are they're ridiculously good to me, especially with Zeta Gundam. The amount of times people just punch each other, so many characters just go up and slap and punch each other, and it's always got this dramatic noise to it too. It's so funny. It's so over the top and violent and silly and so dramatic, but it's so much fun. It's kind of like a soap opera almost. That's how I like to think about Gundam Zeta or Zeta Gundam. I never say it in the right order, but I don't. I also just like cool robots and I like characters. I like it all. It's just really they're fun. It's
It
good.
there it's Gundam that has the infamous line of just, "I'll kill you." Right? I think that was one of the Gundam iterations. I could be wrong here.
Oh,
It's the classic meme scene that happens like at a school, at an academy.
oh, it's in
Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing.
Thank
I
you.
haven't watched it
Okay.
yet.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I was like, I'm pretty sure
No,
that's
you're good.
Gundam, but the only Gundam anime that I myself have watched is what I'm currently watching, and that's Witch from
Mm,
Mercury.
which is
And
Kino. It's
the
great.
and it's funny because initially I saw Witch from Mercury announced, and I was like, oh, new Gundam. I'm real happy for the Gundam fans that it's been a couple years since they've gotten a new one. I'm not a real big Gundam fan. I haven't seen Gundam before. I'm aware of it, and I know a lot of people love it, but I assume this is a show I will not watch. And then 2 weeks into it running, I saw
Yeah.
multiple reviews of people saying this is really, really good, and also that you didn't need to know anything about Gundam going in. So I was like, okay, fine. It's been getting a lot of hype. I'll watch it. And I watched the
It's been great.
episode 0 prologue, and
You
the
got it. You
the
understood.
emotional payoff that they reach in 25 minutes for the episode 0 prologue gets a better emotional response than some series get in 12 to 24 episodes.
Exactly. That's Gundam, baby. I love it. The first 10 episodes, I was a little because I liked the prologue, and then the tone kind of shifted, obviously, because they moved to the school setting. But then the last 2 episodes of season 1, I was like, oh yeah, we're back, baby. It's Gundam, baby. Let's go. I've just it's been good. I'm kind of dying. We don't have an episode this week though. We don't have the Mother's Day special with Prospera. It's so sad.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
It would have been
Being the
really
Mother's Day
funny
special.
too.
Oh my
It would have
God.
been really funny. It's a shame, but hopefully next week's episode is just very good. I'm still sad the first season got spoiled for me by people on Twitter so much, but I've been very diligent about season 2, and I'm glad for it because I've been having a lot of fun.
I'm never going to hear the song Happy Birthday the same way.
Happy birthday
Just
to
been
you.
ruined.
It has
Absolutely
been
ruined.
Every time that happy birthday drop, you know some shit's going down.
Just it is now ominous.
It
The
is.
song that is meant to be celebratory, that is, oh yay, it's a birthday celebration. This is great. That in Witch from Mercury, that is a harbinger of doom. That if
It
you hear
really
that
is.
song, run. Something bad is about to happen.
I've been having so much fun with it though. I will say like the mech designs don't do it for me as much in G-Witch, but some of them do look very nice, and I do like the aerial itself. But I think I've gotten kind of partial to some of the way the older Gundam mechs look. But
What do you look for in mech design? Because, like I mentioned, Code Geass is my favorite, and that is obviously a big mech show. I just see mechs and like, oh, neat mech. I don't really have an eye for detail or different styles. So I'm really curious what it is that you look for in your mech designs.
see, I didn't used to have an opinion either. I was like, oh, that's a cool robot. But then when I started doing Gunpla, now I have opinions on the way robots look, which is very scary. You watch one episode of Gundam, and then a month later you're building Gunpla, and you have opinions on the way robots are shaped. It's psycho. I got tricked. But I'm very partial to the kind of like blocky, chunky designs in the like 80s Gundam anime. I think it's cute. I like the shapes in them. I know it's probably weird to describe a mech as cute, but I like their little clunky booties and shoes. Because some of the, like in G-Witch, a lot of the designs are very sleek, and sometimes I feel they don't stand out from the backgrounds that well. Not in a bad way. It looks great still, but I definitely kind of prefer some of the other mech designs. But I like the Darl Blade and stuff too. And I also really like Ariel. But
I know just before we went live, actually, Twilight Core in your Discord server posted that they got, and I'm just reading off the box because I couldn't memorize it. It's the RX-78-2
yeah.
EFSF prototype close combat mobile suit. Perfect grade, unleashed.
Yeah,
And
so that got one from Twilight Core doesn't even do Gunpla, but one that from the charity event I was in recently. That was the grand prize.
there you go. Now, I know about
it's
the
really
different
cool.
grades, in that perfect grade, while you think, all right, perfect's probably the high end, that perfect grade, if memory serves, is actually sort of the intro grade.
Oh no, perfect grade is like really difficult. There's entry grade and then there's high grade. High grade is what I started with, and that's what most people make. Yeah, no,
All right,
perfect
I'm
grade is
mixing
like
up my grades because they all
perfect
sound
grade is
high.
scary.
That high grade is still something that you would think, all right, that's probably gonna be a complex one, but then
The naming schemes are very funny. It's like entry grade, high grade, real grade, is it master grade, and then perfect grade. It's funny they name it like that, but it also deals with the scaling, the different scales. I think it's 1 out of 144 for the HGs, if I'm remembering right. I might have the scale wrong. I never thought I would get into Gunpla, but it's calming and soothing hobby, and it does make you appreciate mech designs more because you see it click together and you see how the shapes interact. And now I'm a mech pervert, I guess. I just when I watch it, I'm like, oh, how would that build? It's weird. I got tricked. I got tricked by Gunpla into becoming more of a mecha nerd than I was.
Aiko says, when will those cowards finally have a 1-1? They have been making a 1-to-1 in Japan that you can go visit it.
I
That they
think they
even have
took
like,
it down.
oh,
It,
I'm pretty sure they still have it. I saw something of it just a
I
couple
thought it
weeks
was.
ago.
Oh, maybe it was. I thought that it was only up for a certain amount of time. Nope, it's still up. Okay, I misremembered. That's my fault. I'm silly.
Yeah, that it's only capable of very rudimentary motions that I think it can move its arms. I don't think it can walk.
Sad.
But that they have, built this Goliath of a Titan or a Goliath of a Gundam. Titans are a completely
Oh.
different anime.
Yeah. Oh, so is it time still, Jordan? Sorry, I just read chat. It's up until late this year. That's what I thought. I thought it was only up for a limited amount of time. I wish I could see the giant Gundam though. That would be kick ass. I like things more than just mecha anime too, but I've always really liked mecha. When I was younger, it was like the thing I would usually look for, which is surprising I didn't get into Gundam until I was older. I mean, I liked Gundam 00 because that aired when I was into airing anime, so I watched it then. But I didn't touch it again until this year, basically. But I'm glad I did. I've had so much fun with it.
Because
It's
I
been
do
good.
see a couple other classic mecha series, Evangelion,
Mhm.
Gurren Lagann.
Mhm. Those were some of my favorite things when I was in like middle school.
If you want camp and mechs, that's Gurren Lagann.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. When I was younger, I was like really into it, and honestly, that influenced my art style a lot. A lot of it was like the individual animators who worked on it, like oh fuck, their name, I can't remember their names now, like Imashi and what's the one guy's name who I really admire, like Yo-Yo Shinari and stuff, like those kinds of animators who worked on it. They're uh, I just love that art. I love a lot of the art in Gurren Lagann, which I kind of want to rewatch it now that I've been through Gundam because obviously it's kind of a love letter to mecha stuff in a way. And now that I have watched a lot of Gundam, it's funny to retroactively notice the influences that I wouldn't have picked up on before. And
Mm.
Gurren Lagann definitely has a lot of those, especially with like the ending stuff and shit crashing down onto the earth is very Char's counterattack.
Yeah, the way I describe Gurren Lagann is just, it is mechs brought to their comedic and logical extreme of just,
Mm,
it is the most anime mech that you are going to find. That it begins with, all right, we find this robot in the ground that is, it's about 20 feet tall, and at the end they are throwing galaxies like frisbees.
it's so good. I fucking love it. I grew up on that, and it would probably define some of my taste a little bit in that way. But because of I think it was because of Gurren Lagann I started watching other mecha stuff because I didn't really grasp it. I was like, oh, this is cool. This rocks. So I started picking up other stuff, but I never went back to the old stuff. I think I was filtered by virtue of being young. But I
Mhm.
really ended up liking stuff from the '90s still. Like I really love Evangelion, and I watched Escaflowne too, which I still have a very soft spot for because that's a very like shoujo mecha anime. It's like kind of a romance mecha anime, and I mean there's some of those, but that one specifically having a female protagonist is a little different. Like Eureka 7 is also a romance mecha anime, but Escaflowne is definitely like targeted at women kind of thing. If that makes sense. It was a very fantasy mech. It wasn't necessarily like real robot kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
I'm
it's
trying to remember. I've seen like the first 4 or 5 episodes of either Escaflowne or might have been, no, it was something different, that Erica 7 maybe. I'm
mhm,
blanking on
mhm.
it, but I've not seen either of those series in their entirety, but I know a lot of people who swear by them.
Oh yeah, Eureka 7 was like really a big thing for me when I was younger. Kenichi Yoshida, the character designer, influenced my art a ton. A ton, a ton, a ton, a ton. And honestly, the entire aesthetic of that show influenced my art and my tastes in general because I really like how each design sticks out. Like his character designs are incredible. They're usually pretty simple or subdued color schemes. They're not too much going on, while still being very visually interesting and creative. And the influences are all really cool because Eureka 7's based around a lot of surfing culture, and
I didn't
in
know
different
that.
yeah, it's basically all centered around like surfing culture and like surf rock stuff. And there's a lot of the name references. There's basically two characters that are supposed to be Steve Jobs and the one other guy whose name I'm forgetting. It's a bunch of name references. They're fun. A lot of the references, there's like song title stuff for a lot of the episode names. And I remember when I was digging through it when I watched it when I was young, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know any of this stuff. That's so neat. This is so cool." But there's a lot of like creative love put into Eureka 7, even if you maybe not like how the story goes or whatever as it goes on, because there's not many 50 episode anime anymore. I feel like it kind of died out around that part in the mid 2000s. Everything started going to 25 or 12 core anime kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's about my favorite length. That I like 50. That
Yeah.
it it lets you really dig into a story and characters and
Yeah, you get
actually flesh
attached.
everything out, not get too drawn out. That you're not worrying about hundreds and hundreds of episodes, a run on shonen.
Mm,
Um, it, I do enjoy. I watch a lot of seasonal shows, and most of them, like you said, are 12 to 24, and I do enjoy that. I will take that over the run-on shonens that I want to
oh,
experience a lot of
definitely.
different
Yeah.
stories. Um, but you're right that in terms of getting that 50 episode run, that 4 season run, really, that those are relatively rare. But from what I've heard, we're getting that with Witch from Mercury, which has me very excited.
Oh, does it? I don't know when I didn't know if they announced any cores or anything, but yeah, a lot of Gundams will go for quite a bit. And it has been fun to like go back and watch series that have a lot of episodes because it's been a while. I remember when the shift started to happen and I was a much more pretentious little weeb back then. I was mad that they were making like the seasons smaller. I was like, it's not enough time to get invested. I want more time with my anime, but now I'm old. I'm like, oh yeah, 12 episodes, perfect. I'm gonna
Yeah, 12,
toss
12
that
episodes
on.
is great.
But it is nice. Like, I really like the length of Zeta, even though that Zeta Gundam it meanders a lot. It really moves around where it's going, and sometimes it's a little loses its vein here and there. But I love it so much because it's just over the top when it does do weird shit. Oh, it's hard to talk about when you don't have any knowledge of Gundam or talk about it in a general way that's not spoilers. But it might be one of the funniest shows to watch for me.
I'm okay with spoilers, and I think it has been out for long enough that statute of
Yeah,
limitations has expired.
it's yeah, fair. But it's just it goes crazy hard. It's hard to explain though without context
Mm.
sometimes.
Well, one that I do know the context of, and it is a 12 episode series plus a couple movies, but it's still
Mm,
12 episodes and does a lot. And I know it's one that you hold near and dear, and that is Madoka
yeah,
Magica.
it is. I love it very dearly. It is very important to me.
Mm.
I've watched it a bajillion times. I watched it airing. I've been obsessed with it for a very long time. I I love it. I love it. I love Maguka.
And the closest analogy that I can really make for Madoka to something in non-anime pop culture, I forget which came first, but
Mm.
I hold it and Cabin in the Woods very similarly in that they are both deconstructions of their genre and that they both do these very wild things that I wouldn't call Madoka camp, but definitely a
Oh, definitely not.
deconstruction of
See,
just
I don't even know if I've seen that conversation topic or argument a lot about it being a deconstruction, but I think also a lot of people don't realize a lot of magical girls had pretty dark themes, so it's not necessarily a deconstruction. Like Sailor Moon had some dark stuff.
oh yeah,
Nanoha
there's a reason
was
that season 5 didn't actually get aired in the US.
yeah, people don't really think about magical lyrical Nanoha, but that is a pretty like heavier, darker magical girl that preceded Madoka and was definitely some influence in it. And I think that there's been more like it too. I don't know. I get funny
Oh,
about the word deconstruction,
mm,
even if it was appropriate more at the time.
yeah,
But
that it spun off into its own subgenre. There have been dozens of attempted Madokas of just the dark magical girl genre. And yes, you're right that magical girl
mhm,
shows going as far back as Sailor Moon and Precure, that they have their dark elements to it. That it is not all bright pastel all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think Madoka was one of the first and certainly the most prolific in terms of taking the magical girl concept and having it be
Yeah.
very much dark and not for kids from the outset, whereas others, I think, were more for kids at the outset and then let themselves grow with their audience.
Well, Nanoha specifically, it was always targeted at adult audiences. There's some magical girls that are definitely aimed at older audiences, and that was definitely one of them.
Mhm.
But I really like magical girls, so I know a decent amount about them. But I mean, yeah, you can argue if that's a magical girl or
I was
not.
gonna say, I don't know
It's
if
more of a
that's
shoujo. I know
yeah.
people who count it. I'm kind of a hater, which is maybe one anime opinions that makes people mad because I like Ukahara's other anime, but Utena didn't hit for me at all. But
Mm.
I like Penguin Drum a lot, and I like Yurikuma Arashi, even though nobody loves that one but me, I
I know
guess.
Penguin Drum. What was that other one?
Yurikuma Arashi, like it's literally like Yuri Bear Storm, lesbian bear storm.
I've heard of that.
Not a lot of people liked it. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun with it, but it's, maybe not as well received as other ones. But that's why I'm kind of the weird one because I didn't care for Utena, but I do like Ukahara's other works. He's
Oh, it
a
was done by Studio
interesting man.
Silverlink. I
Mhm.
like Silverlink. They do some good stuff.
Yeah. Penguin Drum is really, really good too. I'd probably recommend that before the other because it's maybe a little broader, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that I know I watched the first couple episodes of Penguin Drum, and I saw it going sad places, and I wasn't in a
Yeah.
sad mood,
Oh, I
so
understand.
I
Yeah.
stopped there. But I enjoyed what I saw, and I enjoyed it and respected for what it was. I I
I understand.
recognized where it was going. It was like I'm not feeling that story right now.
I see. It's interesting. I watched Penguin Drum when it was airing, like week to week, and then I had not rewatched it, but I bought it on Blu-ray like year or two ago. I don't remember. Time's not real. I don't remember now. But I rewatched it for the first time all in one sitting, like way older, and I was like, "Damn, this works better if you marathon it. It's not as good week to week."
Mm,
I remember that felt like a very stark difference to me, and then I liked it before, but then it bumped way up for me after I rewatched it because I could appreciate it as like one finished art piece and not a week to week. Because I don't know, some shows just aren't as strong week to week, but then you watch it all at once and it's like, oh yeah, baby, that's
mm,
the stuff. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I have one series in particular that I always tell people watch
Hmm.
episode 1 and episode 16 because it's 13 with 3 OVAs that I considered required viewing. I say, if at all
Hmm.
possible, watch episode 1 and 16 no farther than a week apart. That it doesn't have to be one sitting, but
But close together.
watch it close together. But that's not simply because the storytelling is better. But are you
Hmm.
familiar with Bakano?
Oh yeah, I am. I love Bacchanal. That's one of
That
the few dubs that I like more than sub too.
Yes, yeah, that is a masterclass dub, and just because of
It's
its
like my peak
nonlinear
dub, I
nature,
think. Yeah.
that I tell people if you watch episode 1 and 2 and then take a week off and then watch episodes 3 and 4, that by the time you
Mm.
get to the end, you're not going to remember some of the things that happened in episodes 1 and
Absolutely
2
not. Yeah.
because it's the fact that it is non-chronological, and it is one of my favorite, if not just my favorite piece of non-chronological media.
It's
That
fun. It's been so long since I watched it,
it's
but I
so
loved
fun.
it.
Yeah, and that's one that I've watched it initially over the course of like I said, about a week or so. It was not a single sitting, but I have since
Yeah.
gone back and enjoyed it in a single sitting, and it's one that I go back to, and I feel like I pick up on more things with each consecutive watch,
Oh,
and
yeah, no,
it's
totally.
so good. But at the same time, you will forget things if you don't watch it within
All at
a
once, yeah.
relatively close amount of time because of just there's things in episode 1 that are actually chronologically the end, and you're not
Yeah.
going to remember how that goes if you take your time and watch them months apart.
Yeah, man, I should rewatch Bacchanal. That seems like a fun one to rewatch because it's been so long. I have it I have it on DVD. I
So
don't
do
even have it on
I.
Blu-ray. I have it on
Yeah,
DVD.
because
I bought it like
the
mega
license
cheap on
lapsed.
sale.
I don't
It
think it's ever
did.
been printed in Blu-ray, at least not in
No,
English.
no,
That
definitely it hasn't, not in English. Because I remember I was like looking through some of my stuff to sell. And I'm like, no, they're not even printing Bacchanal anymore. I'm not selling
yeah,
this.
that and it's always surprised me as just a license that has lapsed because I know a lot of people enjoyed it, that it was a very successful series, and one that I figured, all right, there's still a lot of old series that are still licensed and streamable. There is actually not a legal way to view Bakano at this point in time.
You gotta sail the high seas,
Yeah,
Oomfies.
that I'm very staunch in that, if there is a way to legally support the creators, please do.
Oh, yeah,
But
definitely. Whenever I
sometimes
like
if
something, I always buy
if
the Blu-ray.
if there is no way for me to support them, if there is literally no way for me to give you my
Mhm.
money,
I
then
understand.
you're not losing out if I have to find other methods.
Yeah, there's a lot of licenses that completely lapsed in the US, probably because they just didn't make any more sales. But it's a shame because the media preservation, if people aren't archiving it, which thankfully anime gets archived pretty extensively.
Yeah.
But, the average person probably isn't going to go pirate things,
Yeah.
or they're gonna go for whatever is the most accessible. So if they
Mhm.
don't just see it where they can easily access it, they're not gonna think about it or look into it if you're not already like a huge weeb.
Mhm, mhm.
But I grew up sailing the high seas to get my stuff.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of folks our age sailed the high seas because at that point in time, there were not
Mm.
legal methods in a lot of
Oh no,
ways
there weren't.
that streaming services as we know them today have existed for a decade or less. That,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crunchyroll, obviously not even counting the time when it itself was just a pirate site,
It sure
that
was.
those really came into their own around 13, 14, 15-ish.
Mhm, mhm.
And that there's just so many that predate that weren't actually being broadcast in the United
Oh yeah.
States, or if we got them 6 to 18 months after they broadcast, and there just wasn't a way to watch it. So, that goes back to the point of, well, if there's no legal means to watch it,
Yeah, you gotta go where you gotta go. That's a shame though that Baccano can't be watched easily, especially because Durara was so popular in the States, I
yeah.
feel like.
And that I've seen Durara, and it's like Durara is good. I enjoy Baccano more. I think it's very,
Yeah,
very unique.
I think I watched a few episodes of Durara, but I think Baccano hit with me more too, and I never kept watching it. But it was very popular on Tumblr when I was a Tumblr user back in the day. Like the
Tumblr.
Fujos went crazy for that. I knew a lot of Fujoshi.
Spinning back to Madoka, what was
Yeah.
it about that series that really just hooked you? Because you mentioned that you have enjoyed Magical Girl series for a while, but that it's clear that this
Mm.
is the one that has really stuck with you.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's everything. I love the art direction. I love the art so much. I like Ume Aoke's art like a ton. And honestly, it's probably because of Madoka that it endeared me to it so much. And then I ended up enjoying like Hidamari Sketch and her other works. But the sound design, the art direction, the shots. At the time, I was a really big Urobuchi fan. I have different feelings on Urobuchi nowadays, but I still love Madoka with my whole heart. So I won't get into that part. But I also I really like I'm a big shipper. I really like Madohomu. That did it for me. That was like it's my OTP. I
Mm,
like shipping. I love Madoka and Homura so much.
I remember it's around episode, I forget if it's 9, 10, or 11, but it's when things are really ramping up and that they show the opening at the end of the episode
Yeah, you're
after
probably
lifting
thinking
the
of
curtain.
episode 10.
That
Yeah, when
yeah, and then hearing that opening that you've heard 9 times previously and it
mhm.
clicking, "Oh, wait,
And you
all of
understand the
these lyrics
lyrics.
are
Yeah.
from a different angle."
Yeah. I remember when that happened because I watched it airing too, and I remember when that happened and I was pogging out of my gourd. I think that episode 10 of Madoka is just one of the best episodes of anime in general. I know that
It
maybe it's not a hot take, maybe it
it's a
is. I don't know.
yeah, it's a really good one, and that there's obviously, you know, some things do get overhyped over the years, but there is certainly a
Mhm.
reason why Madoka has become so prolific.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I've seen it so many times because I would just show it to people by saying, "Hey, do you want to watch this?" And I would force them to watch it.
You need to get them to episode 3, and if you can get them to episode 3, you've got them.
Yeah. I got a lot of people to like it. I'm very persuasive. That's one of my superpowers is I say, "Hey, I really like this. Here's all the reasons I like it." And then I get people to play or watch things very easily. I don't know why. I have this ability, but I do. And I
Yes,
used to
good.
I used to trick many people into watching Maguka with me.
Good job, good job. Also,
Thank you.
Mycan Mistock 200, I'm probably butchering your name, sorry about that, but thank you for the follow. And then they had the the two recap films, and then they had Rebellion.
I love Rebellion
And
so
just
much.
I want to get a fourth film. I want
We're gonna, I think.
I
What
yeah,
didn't
'cause
that get
I heard
announced
I
during the
think
10
they
year?
did, but
Yeah.
it's been radio silent for a while, and at the same time, if you were to tell me that Rebellion is just the end and that is
I love that
how
as
that
the ending.
like,
That's why I've
I would be okay with that. I would respect that
yeah.
and say it still fits ultimately with Madoka as a
That's what
viable
I'm
ending.
that's why I'm a little worried if they're gonna do another movie because I think leaving it off on Rebellion is A, it's a funny place to stop. B, I just really like that movie because the visual language in that film is incredible and a lot of the motifs they use, like Homura's witch is one of my favorite designs in like probably anything. I think it's really cool and my
The
favorite
witch
detail.
designs in general, the way
Oh,
that
they're
they
amazing.
do just that world is
It's
it's
incredible.
already a high quality visual show,
Yeah,
but the
Gen
places that
Inukuri,
they
like
go, woof.
Inukuri does such good art on the witch design stuff. Like it's great. It's so good. It's so good. But part of the reason I like Homura's witch so much is you have all of this characterization leading up to this point, and so all of the visual motifs, all of the visual language is really strong. My favorite, I gotta say, my favorite part. My favorite part in that movie is the fact that there are like teeth dancing around when she is in her witch form and she's like marching on, and teeth are often like a dream sign for like drastic change in anxiety, like overwhelming anxiety and fear to change and stuff. And I love that detail. It's really good.
I remember when I watched that for the first time with a friend, that they had actually it was a couple months after the release, so they had seen it
Mm,
beforehand, and you know, I knew that they were waiting to see my reaction. That all right, I've already seen the main series of Madoka Magica, so
yeah.
I know going into Rebellion, all right, something crazy is going to happen. That's to be expected, and just the way that it goes and the abruptness of it all, and then
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
the final shot of the film of just uh, we're pretty. I would call it statute of limitations at this point. That the final
Oh
shot of
yeah,
Kyubey
definitely.
on the ground of just you know thing what is going on in its mind right now of that it
Mhm.
knows that it has lost control, and Kyubey is the character that is always in control, the
Yeah, yeah,
character that
yeah.
always knows what's happening. They are the ones that set things into motion. Everything has been going to their plan, and then to see them realize that they have lost control and just the it's a inherently emotionless character design that you never see them smile or frown, or they have that
React,
persistent
yeah.
smile, but just the little bits that they had the eyes moving, and it's just a small thing. It's not even
Yeah,
proper
the small
emoting.
character acting.
It, it
Yeah.
it's that little thing for that character, because for that character, anything that isn't their static face is
It's
inherently
jarring.
emotion. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And I just love that whole movie so much. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it was very funny. I watched it in theaters. I had to drive
Oh, what
out
was the theater
hours.
reaction?
That's what I was about to say. It was very funny because it was this art house theater in Michigan. It was the only place that was airing it. So I had to drive a few hours with a friend from college to go see it there, right? So a lot of people drove. It was the only place in the entire state that was airing it. And I remember the movie theater dude came out and said, "How'd you guys like the movie?" And people just kind of like looked at each other and some were half-heartedly clapping and there was murmuring going and I don't think that
Was
I don't think the
that
staff knew
this
how to
very
deal with it.
well-meaning theater employee being like, "Oh yeah, how'd you like the movie? Hope you enjoyed it." That obviously this is a special and different thing. We don't normally air this type of stuff, so you all came out
It's
here.
so
You must be big fans. Hope you liked it. And then just to see that reaction, because it's
it
not
was
even,
so
oh, it was good. It
mixed.
wasn't, oh, it was bad. It was just for having no
Confusion.
context to see what was effectively, I assume, sort of a broken audience.
It was confusion. It was I remember talking to my friend going back in the car that evening, and it was a lot of confusion, like, nobody knew, but now that I've watched it a few times, I had sour feelings at first, I remember that pretty specifically, but I've seen it quite a few times now, and I really like it a lot more now that I'm older. I'm like, no, this is perfect. It makes perfect sense for
Uh,
Homura's character.
The concept of tragedy becomes increasingly acceptable and appealing in media the older you get.
Well, I always really liked tragic stuff when I was younger too. That's probably why I latched onto Madoka so much. But it, I think it was more I hated the way at first they characterized Homura in Rebellion because I think it went against my reading of her in the TV show at the time.
Mm.
But now that I'm older and I have thought about this for a decade, I think the characterization in Rebellion is perfect and it made complete sense. And I'm pro Rebellion household. Homura did nothing wrong. She's perfect.
Yeah, so I hope we get more, and that I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that
That's the way to do
they
it.
will do it well.
You,
And I guess the way I'll approach it is, if it goes off the rails in a bad way, I'll pretend it doesn't exist and that Rebellion was the end and we got a wonderful ending with Rebellion. And that
that's how you do
at this
it.
point, I think it's just whatever we get is potential gravy.
I really hope that it ends up being good whenever it comes out.
Yeah,
It'll probably be some years, even though they announced it. If I had to guess, I've waited so long for some anime
Yeah,
movies. I'll live.
Yeah, it's one of those things, similar to Legend of Zelda, of just they don't release them until they're done. And
Mhm.
that people are generally patient with them because they have set a track record of when they are done that they are good. So here's hoping that they keep that track record up.
Has Shaft been doing anything recently? Because I don't keep up with airing anime as much anymore.
I'm checking because I don't recall off the top of my head. Let's see. Are they doing anything? They have 3 things this year. One of them is Magica Record, which was just a 4-episode OVA
yeah.
series. They had Ruby Ice Queendom, which
I haven't
aired
even heard of
earlier.
that one.
Are you familiar with Ruby, the web series from Rooster Teeth?
Not at all,
RWBY?
no. Oh, Ruby. Oh, that. Yeah. I only ever see the acronym, so I forgot
Yeah,
that it's
that is pronounced
Ruby.
Ruby. Yeah. That I've been a fan of the series for a while, and it was fine that it was meant to be a spin-off, and it was neat to see Shaft do their thing.
Yeah.
It was set in as not only an alternate telling, but an alternate telling of some things between the earliest seasons. So it was
Oh.
really far removed, and it was neat. It was fine, and it has
It was
no
just a
bearing
neat
on the
little
actual
treat.
thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't Shaft at their best, but it was still distinctly Studio Shaft quality, so it was fine. And then there was Luminous Witches, which is a spin-off of Strike Witches, which I have not
There's
seen. But
another Strike Witches season in the year 2023?
Apparently.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I've not seen the original. I just know about it, and I remember that the slogan for the US release was fighting the war on pants.
I didn't know that. I've seen both seasons of Strike Witches like years ago, and I don't know why the idea of Strike Witches in 2023 or any adaptation or shoot off of it is insanely funny to me.
Yeah. So if you want to see that, it was Shaft that did it.
Shaft. It's interesting. I just don't hear about them as much as I used to, but I guess like Shaft's heyday was a little. No, I mean they're still really established. I shouldn't talk out my ass when I haven't been watching recent airing anime that much.
Yeah, but I am seeing it here on the Wikipedia page. Magi Madoka Magica, the movie Walpurgisnacht Rising, TBA. So
Yeah.
it's still listed and is apparently not defunct, but still no actual release date. But
No TBA.
Eventually.
Eventually. Oh, Miss Mona. My cat just hopped on my lap with her silly little cone.
Hi there, Kitty. Yeah, that Kitty had some surgery, but you mentioned before we went live that they're gonna have like their last bit of pain medication later today, and then they'll be done with that, which is nice for you because
I don't gotta wrap her up in a towel.
anytime that you have to give a pet medication can be a bit of a process.
It's awful. She's doing a lot better though. She's more energetic. She's jumping on my lap again, which is really good.
Oh, that's good.
She's
That's
been
very
sleeping
good.
a lot. She just wants me to scritch inside her cone right now. That's why she came to see me.
That makes sense. Just like, fine, I accept that I cannot reach this place, but you can.
Mother, please help. Mother, I need assistance. Oh, baby.
Uh, so the anime list that you sent me that we have here,
Mm.
Cardcaptor Sakura. So that goes into the more classic, anime
Yeah.
girl. We then have the other delightfully colorful, which is actually super dark series in Made in Abyss. The
Mhm. Mhm.
wild art style of Ping Pong, the animation, which is
Ping pong is so good.
unlike anything else that you are going to see in anime.
Ping pong is an incredible show. I don't think someone could have sold me on it before I actually ended up watching it myself, but it's so good. It's applicable to everything, not just ping pong, and that's why it's so good.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it in its entirety. I remember seeing a couple episodes at a friend's house in college. And I enjoyed what I saw. I just never actually got around to watching it beginning to end.
Mm. It's really good. I mean, I like Yuasa, so I'm definitely biased. However, it's just really, really good. I know some people probably find the art style off-putting, but if you can get past it, it is genuinely a really incredible piece of fiction.
Mm,
I
uh,
adore it.
did you watch the recent season of Made in Abyss?
No, it's been it's a long time.
It,
I probably shouldn't have it in my favorite anime anymore. But I mean, I
season
still
two
really
is
like
as
season
good,
one.
if not better, than season one, in my opinion.
I was a
It
manga reader,
is.
so I like
Oh, okay.
yeah, I actually like manga like a lot, but it kept going on hiatus, so I fell off reading it.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's going on anymore. But I did really, really like the first season because the acting, the music, the line delivery from the VAs, they're all really, really incredible. It's still very good.
Hmm. Are there any manga that you are hoping will get anime adaptations that haven't had one yet?
See, I'm the type of person I don't necessarily need an anime adaptation of a manga because I just love the medium of manga so much, and I love comics and I love looking at art. And
Totally fair.
I get a little nervous when manga I like gets adapted because I'm like, oh, are they gonna do
Also
the art
fair.
style well? Are they gonna do this work justice that I feel very strongly about? Like, I'm very Dungeon Meshi is one of my favorite manga, and I'm very, very scared of the anime adaptation.
Oh, you are not the first person to bring up that one. I'm
It's because
blanking off the
it's
top of my head,
Trigger, and that's why
but
I'm nervous. Like, I like Trigger, but uh, I don't I'm iffy. If it ends up being good, that would be awesome. I'd be very, very happy with it. If it doesn't, I'm like, okay, I have the manga. At least I have Ryoko Kui's art. I'll be good.
yeah, the mentality I was mentioning for Madoka of hope for the best,
Yeah, with the
and if
movie.
it goes sideways, then we'll just pretend it doesn't exist, and what we already have is wonderful.
Exactly. And that's how I am with manga adaptations. Because even I was one of the people who was a little mad at I liked the Chainsaw Man adaptation, but I also didn't because it lost a lot of Fujimoto's like paneling. And he borrows from film a lot in his comics, which I like. The way he frames his shots
The
in his
entire
comics.
opening sequence was just a bunch of movie references.
Yeah, exactly, because he loves movies. But the way the anime doesn't utilize his film shot pacing, they kind of go over the top movement and action, which is fine. But one of the big appeals for me with Chainsaw Man was the Fujimoto's art and the way he panels and stuff. Again, I still have fun with it. I still liked it a lot. But I am a manga elitist probably every day of the week. Not even occasionally, just all the time.
Are there any go-tos that you suggest that haven't had anime adaptations that, regardless of if you want or not, that you
Mm,
tell people, you have to read this manga because you can't have it as anime, so go read this one.
The first two that came to my head, I've read a lot of manga, so I don't retain everything, but Oyasumi Ponpon can literally never be adapted, but I love that to death. It is very depressing. Don't read that if you're in a good mood or doing well in your life. I guess maybe do it when you are feeling well. Don't do it when you're not feeling well. It's
What
maybe
makes it
the best.
unadaptable?
The content and the art style, there is a lot going on there. there it is very, very depressing. It's very real and it has topics that absolutely could not be adapted. But the art's incredible. Inoue Asano's art is great. Like master of the craft kind of thing in how everything is laid out and visually. Utilizing like background assets and stuff with the character. It's so good. It's really good. It's been years since I was able to actually read it, but it's excellent, and that art just can't be adapted. And then same with Fujimoto's other work, Fire Punch. That will never get an adaptation, nor should it ever get an adaptation.
I was gonna bring up that one next because you'd mentioned it by name to
Yeah.
me earlier in the week, and like you mentioned, it's the other one by Fujimoto who did Chainsaw
Mhm.
Man. So it feels like something that, given the fanfare that was given to Chainsaw Man, that frankly I hadn't seen a show with as much anticipation
Oh,
as
yeah.
Chainsaw Man had.
It's one of the
I don't know if
best-selling
I,
manga,
yeah,
like, it's impossible to find in a lot of places sometimes. Well, at least when it was getting popular in the US, I read it before the anime was announced and stuff, and I was just buying the volumes, but you just straight up could not find copies of Chainsaw Man because they didn't know the demand would be so high for the printing in the US,
mm.
and it sells like crazy. Well, it's extremely popular in Japan too, it's everywhere from my
and
understanding.
for Fire Punch, that it is a relatively short series. It was only 8 volumes. It is finished its run. It has been published in English by Viz Media.
It
What makes
has.
it unadaptable?
Just imagine speed running every awful tag you could on a Dojin website in 10 chapters. Just absolutely atrocious shit. That can't be in an anime, like, ever. The topics are very, very dark. They are very dark, and it's very fucking weird. It's a
I mean, like,
it's
there have been some
mm.
really dark series that,
Oh,
the places that Made in Abyss goes is pretty dark. We
uh,
have, but then in
you gotta
I
trust me on this one, Umfi. You
yeah,
gotta trust
I'm
me. You gotta trust me.
it makes me then think, eh, even if not a conventional broadcast anime, that, sometimes you get adaptations that are done by
You can't.
either streaming services or studios, but I'm gonna take your word for it, and
You
this is
should
gonna
def
it makes me want to read it, and especially that, like I said, I
I
enjoy
love
shorter
it.
series. I don't enjoy the big run-ons. So seeing, oh, it's only 8 volumes, that's not bad at all. That's an afternoon.
I love it, but it's fucking weird and it might not be your cup of tea, but it's definitely I like manga that specifically exists in the format of being a comic, of being manga, and I think Fire Punch is very much that. I think if you're not a manga reader and you picked up Fire Punch, you'd be insanely fucking confused. Like if you're just not someone who reads manga that often. I found it fascinating. I felt like I was reading a case study.
That's that's such an interesting way to describe something, and I'm not gonna ask you to elaborate,
That's
because one, it just sounds like this is something that needs to be read, that even if I
yeah.
asked you to elaborate, that
It's hard
it
to
wouldn't do
explain.
it justice. But
It's hard to
I cannot
explain.
remember the last time that I heard a piece of fiction described as a case study.
Yeah. I think that's a very fitting thing to call it. Fujimoto is a strange, strange man, and I love him.
Alright, so I'll need to figure it out because, like,
Yeah.
Viz Media, actually just revamped their,
Oh yeah, don't they
manga app,
offer a
and,
lot
like,
more now,
and
right?
that they offer a lot, and that, hashtag not sponsored, but the thing is $2 a month, that,
Oh no,
they've made it
I
very
pay for it
reasonable and
too.
accessible.
Cause like the manga gets pirated so much. That's one thing. I'll pay for the Viz service to read Chainsaw Man every week. I don't mind. That's like $2 is like nothing, and I love manga so much. I'm happy to because they actually have a good library of stuff to read.
Yeah. Okay, so, e we live in an embarrassment of riches era for media, of just
We
there's
do.
so much good manga, anime, games, movies,
There's
you
too
name it.
many. They
There's
gotta
so
stop making
many.
them. There's too many. Quit it. Stop making stuff. You heard me.
Stop being so good and creative, people. How dare you make us
How dare
feel
you?
things? We did not authorize that.
I definitely didn't. My life is ruined.
Still, it's just it's interesting the era we live in for media, because one of the things that streaming has done that not a lot of people, I suppose, consciously realize, that I think everyone's aware of it when you take a step back, but the mere fact that we have broken away from the linear broadcast schedule has been transformative.
Yeah.
The fact that you're no longer limited by the number of channels multiplied by the number of hours per day, that you can just have
Mhm.
as much stuff as you want, that
At your
there's so many
fingertips.
projects,
Yeah.
so many series that can be produced and released that would have fallen by the wayside simply because so many hours of a day are occupied by the safe sitcoms that are going to
Mhm.
generate the
Mhm.
primary revenue for a broadcast network. And then The evening ones are going to go to infomercials because nobody's watching during those hours. And then how many hours in the broadcast day are actually left for new things?
None.
5-ish, maybe, not many.
Yep.
And
The
even then,
primetime block, that's
yeah,
it.
and the primetime block is still going to go with the safe stuff because that's where the money is and that's where they're going to want the things to go. But there are so many offbeat different things now that
Yeah.
you can actually see not only be greenlit, but be successful and be profitable and make the companies want to continue to invest in these weird, quirky things because you don't have to worry about, all right, where is this going to fit into the broadcast schedule? And well, we only have this time slot available and yada, yada, yada.
It's kind of interesting too. I've seen that streaming services have they used to just release everything at once, right? A lot more have started like drip feeding episodes weekly because they realized that it doesn't maintain hype around the piece of media and people will stop talking about it after binging it. So a lot of shows that are coming out only on streaming services have kind of been doing that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because it's true. People will binge something and then you forget about it and it leaves cultural consciousness.
Yeah, and I'm just a data nerd that I like seeing stats and, oh, this is why, whether it is
Stats are
misguided
fun.
or not, that this is why a decision was made. And that even if in retrospect you can say, oh, they clearly misinterpreted this data because of this, but we only know this in hindsight because this thing flopped. But it's totally logical that in the moment they made this decision based on the data they had and why they misjudged that data. And the duality of the binge model versus the drip feed model that obviously we still see the binge model a good amount on different platforms and some drip feed.
Yeah.
And I find that continued data and just sort of result not only for like business purposes, but like you mentioned, for public consciousness and just whether it be memes or public conversation, that it's interesting to see those because yes, the binge feed model gives you these sort of explosive weeks where it's just all about that thing. And that some companies might say, all right, that is actually more efficient for us in the long run, that gets us, you know, I don't know what they use to determine financial value necessarily, but that it's still used to some degree, so it must work to some degree for some series. And it's really interesting to see.
I have to take a bathroom break really quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'll be right back.
Stir Fried Weasel mentioning G-Witch of being able to do that in a week. That would be interesting because I feel like it's one that could be successful in the binge model because of the type of drama it has and that it could have had sort of this explosive conversation for a week. But at the same time, it does make me wonder, in the long run, is the drip feed model a bit more for folks like me who hadn't been into Gundam to find it after the fact? Because since I didn't get into it until episode 2 or 3 when I heard these good reviews, if it had dropped all at once, would I have wanted to binge it after hearing the good reviews? Or part of me thinks hearing that it was good and knowing, all right, I only need to catch up on 2 episodes. That's not a big commitment. Then I can watch it more regularly. That's how I, as an individual, enjoy consuming my media. But obviously, we see through data that there's a lot of people who do just prefer the binge model. And that's part of the really interesting decision dynamic of it all. But hopefully folks are enjoying the show so far. We are actually now just going a bit past 3 hours. I do these shows about once a week. I don't have a particularly regular broadcast schedule because I do try to schedule things around the guests. But if you are enjoying, you can follow me here on Twitch and Twitter. It's just Vtuber Talk both places. Oh, and I see movement from Mimi. Or at least I thought I did. Maybe it's just the cat catching the camera. Yeah, and I'm guessing it was the cat. Oh, I'm so curious now.
I'm back.
Okay, we saw the model move, and I wasn't sure if it was you or if it was the cat.
Oh no, it was someone else walking through the room. I was still in the bathroom.
Well, welcome back. Yeah, we've actually been at it for just over 3 hours now.
Oh, it's been 3 hours?
Yeah, that time flies when you're talking about Pokemon and anime and fun stuff.
Yeah, it's been a great time.
So I do actually have just a last couple of questions that I ask all
Yeah,
my
hit
guests.
me.
The first one is, do you have any goals
Mm,
for 2023 that we're now, almost halfway through the year that
we are.
things are moving fast, but whether it be, something in terms of a specific project
Hmm.
or a new model or wanting to beat certain games, do you have anything that you're hoping to accomplish by the end of the year?
I want to improve certain aspects of my art. That's usually the goals I set. And it also, goes over to streaming too. I like setting personal goals on how I want to improve. And with art this year it's like I'm really focusing on lines and movement in my composition as well as anatomy. Those are I just want to get better at quickly showing shape and movement. So that's my big art goal for the year. And with streaming, I just want people to have fun. I'm always trying to think of ways I can improve stuff. So I don't maybe necessarily have like a strict goal with streaming, but I just want to keep going through fun games with everybody. I want to keep playing through franchises I haven't gotten to play before. I want to go through Silent Hill this year. There's a lot of other games I want to play. I know. I mean, I know there's only a few Silent Hill games. It's not going to be as long as Resident Evil.
Not quite.
I think Resident Evil's probably gonna be the longest series I do on stream, but I just like playing good games and chilling with people. And if I can make it more fun, I'm always trying to think of ways to make it more fun.
Hell yeah. And then the last question I ask all my guests is,
Mm.
what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not the question of what is a VTuber, but
What's
different
it mean to me?
people. Yeah, that I've had
Yeah.
folks say it lets me get in touch with my inner child, or it lets me be someone I can't be in
Mm.
real life. And I've had others take a more clinical approach and say it's a tool in my toolbox as a content creator. And while I might not have
Mm.
a particularly emotional connection to my model, I think that I'm able to be more creative using a model than I ever could be
Mm.
as a face cam streamer. And both of those approaches and everything between and beyond are totally valid. So for you, Henemimi, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
My gut reaction is it's fun. It's a fun thing. It's not a
A
very
fair take.
nuanced thing. When you ask me what being a VTuber is, I'm like, it's fun. It's really it's something that's made me more confident and happy, and it's easier to be social with people. But it just straight up, it's fun, and that's why I do it. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't fun. If I wasn't having a good time, I straight up just would not be streaming. To me, this is something that's more of an extension of my art too than like art's always my main thing, but streaming to me is something that's very fun. It's a way for me to show my art to people. It's a way to share the stuff I like. I just like having fun. That's it. I like being a VTuber because it's
Surprise,
fun.
surprise. People like having fun. Fun good.
Fun things are fun. So I don't. Maybe that's a little bit of a silly answer, but
No,
to me, it's fun.
I always ask that question at the end of the show because it sort of helps put a bow on things, but also,
Yeah.
while I never know how someone will answer, the answers always make sense. And that even just from a couple hours of talking to someone that, you know, it's
Yeah.
consistent and it's logical for, every guess and every answer that for you, like you said, that you're here
Mm.
for fun, and I very much identify with that in a nutshell, that if you were to ask me, why do I do VTuber Talk? Because it's fun. That,
It's fun.
just,
Simple
I
as.
I'm a relatively simple individual in that I look for experiences and things to spend my time on that I enjoy. And that,
So
yes, it
true.
is a bit of a simple thing to boil down to, but, in the way that that's just sort of how our brains work of what we are
Mhm.
looking for, that
Mhm.
it can be sort of distilled into that way. And that just, we found the thing that makes brain go burr in the good way.
Exactly. I just like being a silly anime girl online and having fun with Winkies. It's as simple as. It's fun. I like showing my art to everybody. I like streaming. I like playing video games. I'm a simple woman. I have simple needs and wants to be funny anime girl and hang out.
It's simple fun, simple chimkin.
Very simple chicken.
And I do actually have one last question, and it's,
Hit
who
me.
would you like us to raid?
Oh, who are we gonna raid? Oh, let me look at. Let me
Well,
look.
while she searches for a raid target, I'll do that last bit of housekeeping. Like I mentioned, if you're interested in more shows like this, you can follow me here on Twitch and on Twitter. I have all the VODs on YouTube. So after a week, this will go away on Twitch because they don't store their VODs. It kind of sucks. But I do make sure they get on YouTube. Sometimes it
So
takes a week or two, but it will be up there. So hi, YouTube, if you're watching the VOD, congrats on making it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment,
congrats.
subscribe again. Yeah. And
I
thanks to everybody who tuned in live here on Twitch, whether you were here from the beginning in the wild pre-show chat or if you stumbled in a bit later on. Do really appreciate it. And Mimi, thank you for sharing your community with me today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for being a very wonderful host. It's been a great time.
The pleasure's mine. Also, I forget if I thanked Stir Fried Weasel for the follow, but thank you, Stir Fried Weasel. Very good name.
Yeah, and thank you all for coming by today. If you came from my chat or you're just hanging out or you're already following VTuber Talk, thank you so much for hanging today and listening to me prattle on.
Yeah, and if you want to hear more wonderful prattlings, Mimi's links are there at the bottom of the chat. They are in the channel panels and the YouTube video description. And also, one last shout out there. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Foxandra has a new model if you would like to rate her. I think it is very pretty and it is the first time we are seeing it today.
Yeah, can you DM me their
Mhm.
Twitch handle just so I don't misspell it?
Yep, you got it. I'm scooting to DMs. There you go.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought, but I'm always that bit paranoid of like,
It's good
okay,
to
I don't want
double
to
check.
send the raid to the wrong place.
I understand.
Yes, thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. This has been episode 107 of VTuber Talk, and it has been a blast as always. Mimi, thank you again so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who tuned in. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next time.
Have a good one.